This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to your live safari of today. It is, of course, the sunrise safari here in Djuma Game Reserve, South Africa. But I have a funny feeling we're not going to get a sunrise. The morning is not looking too promising weather-wise. But my name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera today, and it's rather chill. I'm going to brave the elements for now, but it's 20 degrees Celsius and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is normal sunrise safari. However, we do have special guests welcome today, and that is the Woodland Star School in Kenya, all the way up north of where we are right now in Kenya. You are joining us this morning along with everybody else, so please do send in your questions because this is your live safari. We are going to answer your questions and, of course, take on board your comments. So I'm going to drive for now, and hopefully I don't have to put any more layers on. I don't want to, but it is chilly, and I think right now with the lack of ambient light, I am going to still rely on my spotlight. So please do talk to us. We are live, interactive, and we do it all for you. Now, for those of you who maybe missed the sunset safari last night, I need to update you. Yes, it was very, very stormy, and it was a little bit, honestly, it was a little bit scary to be out there. We were far away, we were far from camp, and we just kept bumping into leopards. Didn't know what to do. We needed to get back to camp, but we kept bumping into them. So we did have Tansy, sort of at the start of the drive. It was a brief sighting, I'm afraid, but we did get to see her. I can't confirm from the sightings that I had if there was suckle marks or not. I can't. I didn't get a good enough look. I'm driving the vehicle, I'm trying to park, keep distance, and unfortunately she definitely had a very, very saggy underbelly, but from my perspective, from what I witnessed, I could not confirm either way if there was suckle marks, I'm afraid. But she sent marks all the way along Gowrie Main, and then she popped off into Torchwood from the south. So at least we've seen her, at least we know she's okay, and I think she's in Torchwood at the moment. Whether she's spending or not, she's definitely spending most of her time in Torchwood, which is interesting because that's her daughter's territory, Kuchava's as well, and Kuchava does have a cub. The other update, as we were driving home, we were actually racing home. I kept my spotlight out and I saw eyes. Once I check out the eyes, I realize it's a leopard. Immediately, I know it's not Tingana and it's not Hukamuri. I know those leopards very well. It's someone else. And of course, it was Mulwati. Yes, the male that we never get to see because he's rather skittish. But apparently, he's not so skittish at night time. Leopards are primarily nocturnal. So during the night, he's far more relaxed, I believe, with vehicles. I've not experienced it, but last night I did get to experience it. I felt he was quite relaxed. The spotlight is doing nothing now. And although he was on a mission, I think he was about to hunt because of the weather. It's the perfect weather for leopards to hunt when it's stormy. Last night there was lightning, there was rain, but it seemed to just pass. It wasn't too bad after all, and I don't think we got rainfall. So really it was all talk. The storm was all talk. It didn't bring too much devastation to us. So my mission this morning is to look for Mulwati. I know where he disappeared, and I've got a lot of theories on this male cat that I'll share with you later. So as I bumble looking for any signs of our elusive one, we're going to send you across to James to say good morning.
Good morning. We open this morning's game drive with a scrub hare. That is, enjoying his breakfast, which is unusual for a scrub hare because, of course, they are nocturnal. My name is James Hendry. Owen is on camera. And a great welcome to the kids in Kenya watching us at 7 o'clock in the morning. Got up very early. Jambo sana, habari, mzuri sana. Safi. Let's go back to the scrub hare that is now attacking us. It's not really attacking us, of course. Now, the scrub hare has an interesting way of surviving, other than running away from predators and hiding during the day, they exhibit a phenomenon known as, he's just over here, there he is next to us now, and he's gone. They exhibit a phenomenon known as coprophagy. So instead of re-chewing their food like a ruminant does, so regurgitating it into their mouths and then re-chewing it, what they do is the first time it goes through the alimentary canals, through the digestive tract, it comes out as a sort of greasy pellet, which they re-ingest and then re-chew, re-eat, and then it comes out as a very dry pellet. Now, I mean, I think that's one worse than rumination. Quite substantially worse, actually. But they are herbivores. It's not that awful. But that is the only way that they can get sufficient nutrition from grass and seeds and things, or mainly grass, that they eat. And it's very interesting that animals have had to evolve some really quite clever plans in order to be able... There's another one there. In fact, there were another 3, but there's one on the grass there. Animals have had to evolve some very complicated strategies in order to derive nutrition from vegetation. Because cellulose and lignin, which make up the majority of the structural material in herbaceous material, are almost impossible to digest, because the enzyme cellulase is simply not produced, but in a very few number of insect species. So no mammal or bird produces cellulase, and so they have to have bacteria in the gut to do that for them, or to digest the structural material. And it's so tough and so hard to digest that it often has to be re-chewed or redigested. And in the case of the ruminants, they vomit it up and re-chew it, and in case of the scrub hares, they exhibit coprophagy. What a massive eye. I think these things cop a horrible beating. I think they get eaten by just about everything out here. From wild dogs to leopards to African wild cats, you name it. I think they'll eat a scrub hare, and I think that they probably have to breed like, well, bunnies in order to maintain their population. The number of wild dogs we've seen, or the number of scrub hares we've seen being eaten by wild dogs when we follow the packs from the air, is amazing. And obviously they're obliterated in seconds, and the pack moves on. Now that bunny will probably spend the day underneath that bush, hoping desperately not to be found by anything. And you can see how well coloured they are. They're beautifully camouflaged. And they're a massively successful species because you find them just about everywhere. You find them from here into slightly wetter areas even than here, and way into the deserts. You'll find the highly adaptable scrub hare. Many of you wondering how I feel after such a close encounter when it came so close to my door. Well, I'm thankfully, my heart rate is slowly starting to return to normal. A massive adrenaline shock to the system as it came close. My stress response, sympathetic nervous system was in full response. Heart rate went up, digestive processes ceased, suddenly needed to have a pee. You know, that happens when you're very nervous. Blood ran to the muscles of my legs in order to make me run away. So I was fully primed for a fight or flight response. But luckily, the parasympathetic is now taking over. My digestive processes are returning to normal. The leg muscles that there are in my legs are starting to lose the amount of oxygen they were fed. And my heart rate is returning to normal, and I'll shortly be able to continue the drive. For my left leg was shaking too much. I couldn't use the clutch earlier. I believe that it is raining at Ngala, and so they have had to seek shelter in camp. I don't think that rain's going to reach us because the wind seems to be blowing from there to here, although quite interestingly, Owen, if we go up into the sky, what you can see is those clouds there to the left. Yes, they are moving from left to right. Would you agree? Yes. And if you go to the clouds on the right, you'll see that they are not moving in exactly the same direction. Unless it is just a case of perception, but I don't think it is. So there seems to be quite a lot of swirling activity above our heads, and maybe the rain will hit us, but for now it feels relatively dry. Yes, a perfect storm forming above our heads. Right, on we go. Devon, the human system doesn't digest vegetation well at all, certainly not raw vegetation. I mean, depends what you describe as vegetation. So leaves, grass, that sort of stuff, we cannot digest. It's why you would die very quickly out here unless you knew where to find roots to eat or fruits. You couldn't survive eating leaves. We just don't have the bacteria in our stomachs. We don't have the cellulose. But by vegetation, of course, you could mean things like avocados or nuts or seeds or any other kind of plant-based material, in which case our digestive systems handle those very well. And then instead of having the bacteria in our bodies, we've developed the ability to eat various kinds, not all, but various kinds of leaf material through cooking, because that breaks down a lot of the structural material, also a lot of the nutrition, but a lot of the structural material in plants. And some of our human ancestors, like Paranthropus robustus, I hope I've got that right, had a massive jaw, huge jaw. It was a bipedal hominin, and it had this huge jaw because it used to survive a lot more on leaves and grass and that sort of thing. And it used to, let me just go up onto the dam wall here quickly and have a look at the grebe's nest. And it used to use that big jaw and big jaw muscles, probably bigger teeth, to grind away at leaves and things. So you can absolutely survive on plant material, no problem, but not on leaves and grasses. And in a place like this, where there are limited numbers of edible roots, limited fruits, and very limited seeds that you can get hold of, you'd really struggle to survive if you didn't take some kind of animal protein, be that in the form of termites, grasshoppers, grubs, all of which are perfectly edible for human beings, or meat. There is our hippopotamus, the stick-playing hippopotamus. I'm just going to keep going on until we're next to the grebe's nest. See if our grebe is there. Now, the grebe has got 4 eggies, which he has now buried. Now, this is totally normal. This is what they do. Just before getting off the nest, he or she covered them up. I think there's something going on here with these grebes, and maybe I'm entirely incorrect, because this is an adult, and the other grebe in this waterhole is now juvenile. Can you see it beyond there? Owen? It's just sort of, yeah, just directly opposite. He'll pop up. I thought there were 2 adults here before. I was convinced that there were 2 adults with exactly the same plumage, and if you look at this chap when he finally pops up, he's a juvenile. And so I don't know what's going on. Oh, also, by the way, I mean, I was particularly stupid. It's always obvious when somebody points the obvious out to you, but yesterday we had that egg on the ground, which was about the size of a guinea fowl egg, and I don't know if you remember it, but we couldn't work out, or I couldn't, maybe you could, I couldn't work out how it had got there. And it was very likely a guinea fowl egg that had been uncovered by the mowing process on that fire break. So yesterday we found perfectly white, perfectly intact egg just sitting on the ground in the open. I couldn't work it out. And a friend of mine got hold of me and said, don't you think it was perhaps revealed by the mowing? And of course it then became extremely obvious that that's clearly what did happen. Alrighty, Sean has managed to get out into the wilderness of Ngala, so let's go and say hello to him, and I shall continue my search for whatever it is that we can find.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala on this somewhat cold and wet morning. You'll be with myself, Sean. We got myself behind the camera this morning, and we are just hoping that the rain stays away. So we were out earlier, we had a bit of rain, we had to do an emergency drive back to the lodge, but then the weather changed, the rain went away, so we're back out here again. And what we're going to do this morning is we're actually going to see if we can find some leopards. So we've seen a lot of lions lately. Some of the guys are still looking for them, so we'll see if they can find them, see what they're doing. But I thought let's look for some leopards, maybe some hyenas, elephants, giraffe, things like that. So we're heading down some of these thicker roads and heading into territories that we know of, where females, young males, things like that, where they frequent areas, and we're going to see if we get lucky. So far we haven't had any tracks, any signs of the leopards, but it is still early and this weather is playing into our advantage. So this weather is very good for us. The rain is good. There was a little bit of wind earlier. You can see all the clouds in the sky. You see it very dark over there. We got a first question for me of the morning from Caitlin, who's 11 years old. Caitlin wants to know, what is the animal's favorite weather? Caitlin, I would say that depends a lot on the animal. You know, something like any of the predators, lions, leopards, hyenas, even wild dogs actually, possibly cheetahs, they like weather like this, overcast weather, where it's a little bit cooler, maybe even a little bit of wind and some rain, because for the predators, this sort of weather makes it easier to hunt in. They're not using so much body energy to keep themselves cool. They can hunt a lot better, it's easier for them to stalk in the rain and the wind. So the predators love this sort of weather, where you might find on a hotter day with more sunshine, the prey species, the impalas, the zebras, the wildebeests, the buffaloes might enjoy it because it means the predators are sleeping. That's a general rule, but the predators will be sleeping, and now these other animals have a bit more safety. But they also get hot. So it's very tricky, Caitlin, to say. I said the predators definitely prefer this. Prey, I'm not sure what they like. I would say probably cooler. If you're an elephant, you know, you're weighing 6 tons, you're big, you're dark grey, you're going to get very hot in the sun. Me personally, I prefer this weather. It's much better to do safari in weather like this. We got a question from Lily about the weather again. I want you to know if animals can sense the storm coming. Lily, I believe so, yes. You see a lot of it on the documentaries, on the movies. Animals, birds and such will start sheltering. Instead of flying around, they'll go into trees. We do find sometimes the impalas, the wildebeests will start heading into bushes. You know, you're just driving around and the weather's very similar to this, cloudy, overcast, a little bit of wind, and you just see the animals starting to head into trees and that sort of thing. And generally within 5, 10, 15 minutes the rain does come. Just like we can smell it, you know, people, you can smell the rain in the air, or you know the weather. You know, we can sit here and say, okay, look at those clouds, bad weather's coming. And Lily, I think the animals can do a very, very similar thing. They can definitely sense the weather. Like last night, we had on Rowan's Drive, if you were watching, a big storm. It was a massive storm. There was thunder, there was lightning, not much rain, Yeah, it was at the Safari Lodge, our other camp in the north of the reserve. They had hail last night. So they had a bad storm. They had rain, hail, lightning, thunder. Our tented camp missed that. We had lightning and thunder, but we had no rain and no hail. And what we're doing is just hoping that their storm was blowing further north. So we just stopped here to listen. I heard a baboon shout behind us. I remember we said we're going to look for leopards. There we go. I don't know if you heard that. There's baboons alarm calling behind us. And one of their biggest predators is the leopard. Because obviously baboons climb trees. Baboons climb trees. Leopards also climb trees. So leopards are their biggest predators. Often called. One's still calling there. It sounds like he's quite close to the river. Now we're going to see if we can get around there. We're going to keep listening, drive around into the river, and see if we can find the baboons, and then find what they're calling at. Because generally, if they are calling at a predator, the predator will run away from the baboons. Now it's been seen, and it's going to give its position away, so it tries to move out of the area. So we're going to go there, have a look, see if we can find any tracks. While we are making our way around there, though, we're going to send you back to Juma with Lauren.
I am almost at the hyena den. Now, I don't know if Ribbon's going to be there, but that's what I want to check. So I'm almost there. I'm just going to put the car into low range. We always put it into low range when we're approaching a sighting. It's a very noisy car, this one. And let's hope that Rib Robs is here. I'm sure she had a busy night last night. I'm more than sure she had a busy night last night. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. No one appears to be here. Now, we don't stay at dens without any adult, without any babysitter. And when the cubs are this young, we would not stay at a den without Ribbon. And I don't think she's here. So I'm not even going to turn off the car. I'm just going to reverse right on out again. Davi's giving you a view. That's our policy here. We cannot stay at dens without a mother or a babysitter. I bet you there was lots of successful hunts last night. I'm convinced with that storm, the predators used it to their advantage. And I'm also convinced that there would have been successful hunts. And I bet you Ribbon is on the case. I bet you she's with a predator right now. Well, she is a predator, but in the form of a leopard or a lion. So I've been thinking about Mulawati, the lack of information we actually have on him. So I'm starting to think, now this is just my theory, my speculation, that I'm starting to think that Tingana covers the northern section of Juma, a large section. He's got the largest section of Juma. His territory also extends up into Buffelshoek as well. Then I think that southern chunk on the southern east corner going along, I think the middle band and the south is Mulawati's territory. The territorial boundary between Tingana and Mulawati, I think, is at that drainage line of the western edge of Quarantine and Rebecca's. That's my guess. And in the west, that edge is Hukamuri. And I think that's how the three dominant males that we have here all fit in around one another. Now, I'm only speculating this now. We do need to see more of Mulawati, but that's my theory. He's covering that southern east edge and that sort of chunk in the middle, and then Tingana comes down. So I'll try to make a lovely map for you all and show it to you later. That's what I'm starting to think. We really need to find out more about Mulawati. I'm going to go back to the exact same place I saw him last night and look for him. Maybe because it's still very overcast, he will be around. John, what a question. Ooh. On the spot. I need to count. Tingana, Mulawati, Hukamuri, Tandi, Tlalamba, Shidulu, Kuchava, Kara, Sabui, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would get Sabui straight away or if I would just understand it was her from location and a process of elimination. Luna, she's very distinctive. I think I would get her straight away. I think that's maybe all the leopards and leopardesses that I would get immediately on sight. Otherwise, I would have to really think about it. I'd have to look at the spot pattern, think about the location that I was in, who it could be, narrow it down. But I think those leopards that I just listed would be the ones that I would be able to get straight away on sight. And then, of course, you get random sightings of leopards that are just passing through. And I would definitely not be able to recognize a leopard that I've obviously never seen before. So I think close to 10 I would be able to identify on the spot. But it's just because you spend so much time with them. You know, last night immediately I knew it's not Hukamuri, it's not Tingana, that is Mulawati. Okay, Mulawati went into this block last night. Doesn't mean he'll still be there, but I'm going to take my chances and have a look for him. As I bumble, the sun is starting to come out. We are going to send you back across to James.
We are heading towards the northern boundary to see if anything popped out there during the course of the night. And otherwise we've seen 2 African hawk eagles, which naturally, as soon as I stopped, decided that they'd like to fly away. So I swat them. I have to confess to you that I used a bad word and I swat them. It's not something you should do, but I was frustrated. They were beautifully positioned on a dead tree, gorgeous light, and then they flew away. So I said a bad word to them, and that's not acceptable. Now I've chosen to go up onto the northern boundary because it's a bit open, and often, especially this time of the day, the predators will be in relatively open areas, either sort of taking stock of the night's activities or having a rest before they seek some shade, but they definitely don't need to seek any shade today, given the rather miserable weather that we have this morning. Also, it's open so I can see what's going on, which is very useful. Bradley, I think you'll find that the stalking predators prefer the rainy weather most. So the lions and the leopards, because they operate as stalkers, so they definitely want to hide their approach to their prey. I think cheetah and wild dog probably less so, because they are much more coursing predators. Wild dogs especially, you know, the more open it is, the better for them in many respects. They like to be able to see their prey, and they are most effective hunting in the winter through these woodlands when there is little by way of tree leaves and cover for them. So they do a lot of hunting, or successful hunting, in the winter time. So yeah, I would say that the ambush predators would like the rain, and the coursing ones not quite so much, perhaps. Obviously it's all a continuum, and you'll probably find there are even individual differences where some leopards like it and some don't. Oh, I think for some time, JS, the animals would have had enough water for winter. I don't think that our major water holes are going to dry out this year at all, even if we don't get rain until December. So yeah, I think there's plenty of water for the animals to get through the winter. And remember, I mean, this is a semi-arid area, right? So the fact that we have got these artificial water points, that's quite pretty, isn't it, Owen? The fact that we've got these artificial water points is essentially unnatural. So dams and pumped pans and that sort of stuff is a very much human way to keep animals in a particular area. And what would have happened, say 200 years ago, is the animals would have just moved. And a place like this would have dried out during the winter, there would have been a concentration of animals on the perennial rivers like the Sabi and the other perennial rivers of the Kruger, Crocodile River, the Olifants, and then many animals would have headed off towards the west, towards the mountains, where the streams would have been slightly more permanent. Obviously they can't do that anymore, and the Sabi Sands where we operate and the Timbavati, to a certain extent where Sean is, have a priority which is, well, a twofold priority, one of which is conservation, the other of which of course is tourism, and one feeds off the other, and so water is provided in order to keep animals in situ year round. So yes, there will be enough water in our dams to keep the animals here, but if there wasn't, and we as human beings were not in the area, the animals would just move to the perennial rivers. And in many respects that is a more natural system, because that meant that areas like this would be free of animals or browsers and grazers for lengthy periods, and then they'd be filled with browsers and grazers for lengthy periods. But that don't work for tourism. So if you come to an area like this in midwinter and there's absolutely nothing to see, you're unlikely to come back again. Jim, this has been a high rainfall year. The average rainfall in this area is probably about 550 to 600 millimeters of rain a year. That's about 600 millimeters is exactly 24 inches. So around about 24 inches a year is average. But the concept of average in this part of the world is a little ridiculous, because if you look at a graph, it just does this. So it's not unusual to have 300 millimeters some years and 800 millimeters other years. I don't know how much we've had in total this year. I would put it around about 800. Last year we had about 300, and the year before that about 350, so they were way below average, and you could see it. Oh, there is a cuckoo, and I think it's a Jacobin cuckoo. Let's see if it pops out. They're very, very painful to try and get on camera, the Jacobin cuckoos. And I say it was a Jacobin because it was... You got him. Oh, well spotted, Owen. He's going to fly. No, he's not. No, it's not a Jacobin, it's a Levalence. A striped cuckoo, they used to be called. That's really cool. Not many of these left, just a few of them calling. Just watch him for a second, because he might be with a flock of babblers. Oh, wonderful, wonderful talk sent to me by a viewer whose name I've forgotten, and I'm sorry for that, but a talk by Richard Dawkins on cuckoos. And we were sitting with the Diederik's cuckoo in just about exactly the same place 2 days ago. And I was showing you pictures of how the Diederik's cuckoo is able to lay different colored eggs dependent on which host it parasitizes. So they may be robins, they may be weavers, they could be various other species, and they lay different kinds of eggs. And somebody said, well, how do they know what to do? And I couldn't answer the question. And then this viewer sent me a wonderful talk by Richard Dawkins on cuckoos. And each female cuckoo has what we call a different gens, and the plural of that is genties. So there are a number of different genties in the female cuckoo, not in the male, only the female. So it's almost like a subdivision of the female gender. And what they do, each female will only ever lay the egg of the host into which she was born. So if she was born in a weaver's nest, or in this case a babbler's nest, they will only lay babbler's eggs. Doesn't matter to the males, they will mate with a female from any genties. But each female has a specific gens, and that's based on how or where she is born. Now that makes intuitive sense. How that's transferred to the DNA or to the method by which she lays that coloured egg is unknown at this stage. So if a Diderik's cuckoo is born in a weaver's nest, she will only ever lay eggs in weavers' nests, and she will only ever lay eggs that are coloured like weavers. And that's passed on from female to female to female. Now, whether that's hardwired into the DNA, and we think it probably is, and probably somewhere on the Y chromosome, because in birds, XY is female and double X is male. It's probably hardwired into the Y chromosome. Isn't that interesting? So the word for the day is gens, plural genties. Yes, Louise, I'll try and find the talk for you. Louise is always very interested in these sorts of things. I'll try and find it for you. I will do my best. But there are no guarantees that I will be able to find it. There goes our cuckoo. The sun is doing its best to shine. That's a very nice slope we've got there, Owen. Let's go across. Let's go across to Sean, who's got some primates, and they've got very interesting biology themselves.
So we managed to find the baboons that we heard calling. So now we were just outside of the tree. So you can see there in the screen, there's one baboon, actually two baboons there. It's a mother and her little baby. But they're looking quite relaxed. So we can see it's hard with the sun, but there's a number of baboons in and around these trees. Now if you listen carefully, you see there's no calling, there's no noise. So they've all relaxed, they've all calmed down. So what we could have heard was maybe just a tussle between two baboons. I haven't seen any tracks of leopards. We're down in the river at the moment. So in the sand it can be easier to see tracks. And I haven't seen any tracks of the leopards. And these guys, this is where they would have slept now, these baboons. You can see all the branches shaking. There's a baboon on the right hand side. It's a great place for them. These trees are big. And it's very safe for them to sleep here. There's a little bit of water just behind them to the left that they can go and drink from. Otherwise, there's lots of, food for them in the area. Down along the river here, there's lots of bushes. So there's plant seeds and grass seeds. And I don't think there's any fruits left. It's too late in the season. But they can find food up and down here. And often now we're going to drive in the river for a while. And you'll see as we drive in the river, this is where we find all the baboons and where we find the majority of the vultures in these bigger trees. I was hoping, you can see a whole lot of baboons playing around at the top. There are a couple small ones. There in the screen, there they go. But
I agree, as long as they stay away from camp.
So we're just having a discussion here with FC about if baboons are cute or not. Apparently a few of you viewers think they are. And I'm of the mindset, if they're out here, they are cute. As soon as they cross the fence into the camp, they are not cute anymore. They're very human. So you look at them in the river on a hot day. You come drive here in the river and you can see them just lying on their sides, like their hand resting on their head resting on the hand, legs out. They have a very good time themselves. So they can be cool to watch. But again, only out here. As soon as they head into the camp, then I have no time for baboons. Because, we were discussing a couple of days ago, cool animals to watch. And, what animals are nice to watch. And these ones very cool to watch because they do stuff. We got a question from Sadeep about trees, which is one of my favorite topics. Wanting to know what tree these baboons are in. Now, Sadeep, they are in the jackleberry tree. That's the tree that they are currently in. So at the right time of the year, that tree will actually have little fruits and berries in it that the baboons will eat. And a lot of the trees spaced around here that you can see. There's a lot of jackleberries. The one to the left that we were looking at is a apple leaf. So these trees along the banks, a lot of them are fruit trees. You'll see as we go further down, we might even pass some big fig trees, which is another place where there's a troop of baboons that sleep there. It could be the same troop. They will move around and sleep in a number of different trees. From this jackleberry, as I said, to the fruit tree, it just depends, the fig tree. Just depends on where they are and the time of the year. You know, during the fruiting time, January, February, maybe a little bit into March, they want to go in a tree that has a lot of fruits. A question from 10-year-old Dasheen, wanting to know what baby baboons are called. Dasheen, I would say they're just called baboons.
Baboonlings.
Yeah, I think they're just baby baboons. They not have a, that I know of at least, they don't have a, it's not like it's a calf. Oh, there we go. There we go, that's it actually. They're called infants. It's a little infant. One of the primates. So I'm told they are called little infants. So what you're seeing there, I wouldn't classify those as infants. Those ones that are running around, they're a little bit older.
Teenagers.
Yeah, my soul calls them teenagers.
They're the most naughty ones.
Yeah, those are the ones that sneak into your room. Not the infants. It's the teenagers, as my soul calls them. What we're going to do, they're going to sit there, they're going to feed. They might come down, get some water, move around a little bit, move into a new area. As James was showing you, sun is coming up, the sky is clearing quite nicely. So we're going to do, carry on heading down the river. See if we can find any tracks of leopards or whatever might have been crossing. There were tracks of a big herd of buffalo on our way here. Looks like they were heading down towards the river as well. So we'll head back that way, see if they tracked across the river. If not, loop around, see if we can find these buffaloes on the bank. This is one of my favorites. I mean, if you can look there, you got all of the sand in the middle, very open, a good place to look for animals. There's not much cover for them as they're crossing the river. And then you got these big trees, good for the buffaloes, the elephants, the leopards, baboons. And if you choose a good section of river, you don't have to do much driving. The car just sort of sticks to the track, drives itself. Okay, so Jason wants to know how big andBeyond Ngala is in square kilometers. So Jason, in square kilometers, we got about 142 square kilometers. That's a very big area. I just give all of the measurements. So square kilometers, 142. Hectares, we are 14,700. And then in acres, it's about roughly 37,000 acres. Which is, it's incredible to have an area like this and to have it just for us, like a little private, our own area, is really, really awesome. It's a bit difficult at the moment, you know, seeing that it's myself and we got two other cars that are driving on an area that sort of size. It's a lot of space to cover. A lot of areas for these animals to go, to move into, things like that. But it's really, really awesome. I mean, in the 3 weeks that andBeyond Ngala has been working with WildEarth, there's some sections of the reserve that we haven't been to. We've been driving every day, twice a day for 3 weeks, and there's areas that we just haven't gone to. That's how big this place is. And it happens quite a lot. You know, obviously you stick to areas where the animals live, where they go, especially those territorial animals. But some of the other areas also just really beautiful to drive into, adventure through. Like this, even if you don't see any animals, just to be out here, especially now with the storm, the air is clean, everything's green, it's all looking really, really beautiful. And it's a nice way to just spend your Friday morning. Just having a look, seeing what Ngala can provide. And so far, hopefully, we can find those buffaloes and see what else there is. Nothing in there. I was looking, there's generally two battaliers. There's two battaliers that live around here. Now, battalier is the bird. It's our logo, which is somewhere on the hat, I think. We'll see if we can find it. While we're looking for the birds and the buffaloes, we're going to send you back to Juma with James.
So here is the eggie, of which I spoke earlier, and I'm sorely tempted to take it home, but I don't know that that would achieve anything. And I'm pretty sure my good pal Hobson is correct that this has been unearthed by the mowing process. This area has been mowed for a fire break. But I don't know why there are no other eggs, so maybe it was knocked off the nest, and maybe the nest was destroyed. I mean, normally if it was guinea fowl, they would make an actual nest somewhere in the deep grass. Maybe it's a francolin. So there it is. And interestingly, it survived another night. I wonder how long it's been here. I'm going to touch it because it's definitely not going to be returned to by the parents. Ooh, I can hear chirping. No, I can't. So there's the egg, and I'm sure at some stage something like a mongoose is going to come across it and think, good grief, my cup runneth over. Look how lucky I am, here's an unattended eggie. Probably not in exactly those words. That is the eggie stop for the day. We will continue. Rishi, I mean, a threat to the egg, no, because I don't think the egg can be threatened. I'm sure it's not viable anymore. We know without the parents it'll quickly become like a chicken egg, basically. So nothing's sitting on it, so I don't think there's a threat to it, but there's certainly snakes that would eat it, including the egg eater. An egg eater would eat it. In fact, that's probably the only snake that would eat it. We do get egg eaters here, as far as I remember. Not a great herpetologist. I think that would be an understatement. Let's get to the end of this road. There's normally a little herd of impalas waiting, sometimes alarm calling to predators. There's also the most perfect leopard tree up ahead, in which I've only ever seen one leopard, now deceased. Gosh, a nasty wind blowing out of the southeast, but at least the sun's come out. And hopefully we will avoid driving rain to go with this wind. So here is the tree. Wouldn't it be nice if we found a leopard in it this morning? There it is. Magnificent Diospirus mespiloformes, or jackalberry, or ebony. Gorgeous. And I saw Karula the leopard once, Tundi's mother. Many of you met Tundi last night. And underneath the tree at the same time was Mvula, a male who's also now deceased. Good. Let's go across to the leopard queen herself and see if she's managed to find any leopards for you.
I am still looking for a leopard. We came across who I believe Mulwati's tracks. And I think he popped in and came this way. So I'm just trying to establish which way he would have walked. We don't really know too much about the roads he takes and the path he takes. When it comes to leopard territories, they always have a core area. So if you look at the territory, it will change throughout time. It will always change throughout time. Absolutely nothing in nature is static. But they will have their core area that will stay that sort of in the same perimeter throughout the seasons, including, I'm kind of blinded by the sun here, sorry, including summer and winter. Now, normally the core area is classified by having a reliable water point, a reliable water source. So let's just say for Tingana, very much the area of Galagopan and Rotelapan, the pans that stay full throughout the entire year, come under his core area, I believe. Then as you Then out you will bump into the sort of secondary area, which is still very much an important part of their territory that they will scent mark and actively defend. Then as you start to get to the very, very perimeter of the entire territory, what you tend to find is that's the tertiary area. Now they do mark it and they do defend it, but less actively. So the core area and the secondary area, if you like, are the most important part for a leopard. And then it's like the periphery. Still very, very much their territory, but I believe this is the most flexible part. This is the part that changes and moves. The core area will always stay the same. The secondary area is also vital, but that sort of tertiary part is where they try to push, or maybe they come back in because there's a threat, or maybe they push again because their competitor has disappeared. So that's essentially how a territory works, but it's dynamic. It really is dynamic. It will depend on resources. Females, if you're talking about a male, of course, water and food. It's the three most important things for a male leopard. So I'm still trying to figure out which way Mulawati will have won. Now, there's absolutely no guarantee that we'll see this cat today, but it's worth a shot. Jane, you're asking, how do leopards mark their territory? Great question. They do it in a number of ways. So, for a male and a female, they will vocalize. And this is to say, I am here, and they saw. It's a very rasping sound. On that note, I did get sent a video last night. It's on YouTube, and it's called Tingana Male Leopard Sawing. And it's a collection of all these moments where Tingana sawed. Davi and I watched it together last night, and it's great. I don't know who made it. I'm sorry, I can't give you the credit. If you tell me, I absolutely will. It's fantastic. Please search it on YouTube, Tingana Male Leopard Sawing Collection. It's great. Anyway, they vocalize, and the point of vocalization is to communicate to other leopards, not to lions, not to hyenas, not to any other sort of animal. It's to communicate to other leopards, I am here and this is my territory. And that's how they make the sawing sound. That sort of rasping sound that they do that I am terrible at. Then, of course, they need to leave chemical signals. They need to mark their territory using all sorts of pheromones, hormones, chemical signals, so that other leopards can pick it up and they think, aha, I know who's been here, I know whose territory I am stepping into. And they do that in a number of ways. They have sebaceous glands in their cheeks where their whiskers are, and this leaks sebum, and the sebum also contains chemical cues, so they will rub their face into the vegetation, and it's not just because it feels nice, it's to release the sebum and mark it onto the vegetation. Normally it's the sort of low-hanging vegetation that you see on the roads that they do this to. They wouldn't climb up a tree to do that. They'll do it right at the side of the road. Then they scoosh urine. Yes, they scoosh, scoosh. They'll lift their tail up and they'll scoosh out urine in quite a deliberate manner, and this will contain all sorts of clues for a leopard. They'll scoosh it wherever they go on all the vegetation as much as they can, and this contains all the information about them. Then actually when they do a poo, that contains a lot of information. There's special anal sacs, and what the anal sacs contains is bacteria. And the bacteria actually work inside the body and create lots of chemical cues that the leopard will release and leave when they do, well, when they leave some scat behind, shall we say. There's all sorts of cues that they can actually leave. Now, when they normally pee, when they leave urine, they can actually stand and scrape in their own pee and then walk, and they're doing this intentionally. They're trying to spread the urine far and wide so that their scent is everywhere. So good question. There's lots of different ways that they do it, from chemical cues to, of course, audio in terms of vocalization, and then there's the claw marks, the scrape marks on the trees, visual cues, hearing, sight and smell. It's all very important when it comes to marking your territory. Okay, we're almost at the kill site of the avokas. Hopefully someone will be there. And just a reminder, if you are enjoying our safaris, you're loving jumping on board wherever you are in the world, it does not matter, then of course you can jump onto www.wildearth.tv/support and support us in any way that you may wish to do so. The vultures are all hanging around. You see that huge wingspans. So something is here. Will it be a lion? Will it be a hyena? I do not know, but the vultures are still here, which means the carcass is still here. It's going to hit us in the face soon, Davy. Are you ready? Yep. Can you smell it? The vultures are all scattering. Wow. I'm just driving slowly because you don't know who's here. I can see white-backed vultures and hooded vultures. Oh my goodness, that smell is so bad. Now the carcass should be here, but as many of you know, it's a very tricky visual for us. So I'm going to try and navigate around here and see if anyone is feeding. And as I do that, we are going to send you all the way across to Sean and see what he's got for you.
And we found the buffaloes. So a smaller herd, not the big herd that we've been seeing recently, but still quite a good size. You can see a lot of them lying down here. This is where they slept last night. It's a fairly large open area. Quite safe for them to have slept last night, especially with the weather conditions. They want to sleep somewhere where they can see any predators coming, so they chose a great spot here. They had these trees, a little bit of wind protection, and now you can see they're starting to wake up slowly. The sun's starting to come up. They're waking up. Now there's a little calf just behind, so you can see there. Look at there, it is popping out at the back. So now that big one in the middle is a female. The one on the left that's doing the head bobbing, that is a male. Look at the little calf. Look at the color difference as well. So I was talking about this in our last buffalo sighting, about how the calves are a different color. So you can see, look at those two buffaloes. Oh, maybe don't look now. But they are quite dark in color. And that little baby, the calf there, is brown. A much lighter brown. And I was saying it's just because they're closer to the ground. You know, they blend in more with the sand, the termite mounds, the rocks, the browning grass, things like that. And as they get older, they'll turn more and more black. There's another calf in the middle of the herd. And you see myself panning. There it is. So you see lots of little babies in this herd. Again, there's a female on the right next to the calf. And then the furthest one on the right is a male. So this herd got quite a few females, but I can see at least now 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, maybe 5 young males. Like sort of healthy, good males. And these are the ones that will, so buffalo herds, how they sort of navigate and live, they go up what they call sort of pathfinders. So it will be some of the experienced females that know where to find water, where to go and get good grazing. And so these experienced females and some of these males will sort of lead the herd. As they walk, they'll decide how far we're going, where we're going, all of that. And the rest of the herd will just sort of follow along. You'll get the very old, lazy males, sometimes the old females right at the back that just struggle to walk to keep up. But if you watch some of them carefully, that one, yeah, right there that's looking away from us, is actually chewing. You can see it's like a little female, and she's eating. The buffaloes are very similar to sort of cattle and cows, and they ruminate, so they chew their food multiple times. Very similar to giraffe. I think James, maybe a week ago, was looking at a giraffe ruminating, watching their food come up and down the throat. So these ones very similar. Neil would like to know if buffaloes are territorial or if they are nomadic. Neil, these buffaloes are nomadic. They just walk. They go after food. They go after good grazing. So they don't really have territory. They don't have territories. They don't mark their territories. I know Lauren has been talking about leopard markings and territories and things like that. We just got to move across to James. These buffaloes are just sitting here. Send you to Juma.
We found Tandy's cubs. Just straight ahead, Owen. Straight through there, where I'm pointing. Can you see where I'm pointing? Okay, up, left, up. There, straight in there. You can just see some spots in there. This is Tandy's old den. Owen, down a bit. Sorry, just zoom out a sec. Yeah, in there. Just zoom out again. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. It moved as it heard the hyena. No, we're way off. See, look where I'm pointing on the screen. See where I'm pointing on the screen? Go there, zoom in there. Yeah, no, now we've moved, so come across. Down, across again. Yeah, it's in there. There. Left, you got it. Guys, I've been checking this den site again and again. There's one coming down the bank. There. Alright, now there's a Ngala close by, which means I don't think Tandy's here. There are at least 2 cubs there.
There's the second one up here.
Yeah. Now we're not going to hang around because Tandy is not here. So Tandy is not here, so we can't hang around. And there are hyenas shouting off in the distance. They're not a threat to these cubs. I've been checking this den. I've checked it probably 4 times and haven't seen anything. And Rexon came past here the other day and he said he's got a feeling there's something going on here. And these little things, they're much older than the ones that we last saw in this position when they were just born. I'd say these things are about 6 weeks old. Oh my goodness, Owen, well done, man. So we're going to move as soon as they disappear. So I would say that's a 6-week-old cub, maybe a little bit younger. Oh, you beautiful little thing. Look at you. You're too gorgeous for words. We were just about to leave here. And because Owen can see a massive Ngala bull around here, so we assume that the mother is not around. Oh, they're terrific. Oh, it's too wonderful. You see, they're well older than the last ones we saw of hers. They're not the same cubs. It's just too magical. Now, if you haven't been with us for a long time, this particular area is where we think Tandy was actually born. Certainly she was denned here for a little while. And she denned Tlalamba here. She denned the last 2 cubs here. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. And now she's denning these guys here. They were almost certainly not born here. But I've been checking this place over the last 2 weeks thinking, I'm sure there's something going on. Okay. We're going to leave because Tandy is not here. And we're not supposed to be at a den if the mum's not here. We're not doing any harm by being here because we got here and, to move around is where the damage is done. So we'll probably head out now, but wasn't that unreal? Well done, Owen.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to Lauren.
I'll give you one of these.
could not be happier to hear that news. I'm shocked, I'm surprised. I didn't know James had any idea where the den is, and I'm absolutely over the moon. There. See, patience pays off, and your questions eventually get answered. Maybe it takes a long time for the answer to come, but they get answered, and there we have it. Little leopard cubs. I don't actually know where James is, Louise. I've never seen a leopard cub. Ever. Ever. Ngala Road. Yes, okay, so he finally got lucky. And just like hyenas, what I mentioned earlier at the hyena den, we don't stay there if there's no mother. So James is obviously leaving, but hopefully, he can go back when Tandy is there. And if Tandy's there, we can stay and we can view. How exciting. Tandy is one elusive cat. She kept that very well hidden. And the cubs are on Juma, which is going to make such a difference. So hopefully, we'll have cubs. My first leopard cubs, and they will belong to Tandy, who you all got to briefly meet yesterday. Very brief, unfortunately. But still, we got to see her in her fine, true Tandy self. Yes, giving us a little snarl now and then, which is exactly what Tandy does. The Tandy smile, we call it. But I'm pretty sure she's not smiling. Okay, my search is not fruitful, I'm afraid. We couldn't find anything at that carcass. We couldn't find the carcass. From what we could see, from the limited sort of visual that we had, we couldn't see carcass. We couldn't see hyenas, only the vultures, I'm afraid. So maybe the hyenas, I saw lots of tracks for hyenas, have dragged it further inside that property. But the lions have definitely gone. So now we're going to keep bumbling and see who else we can find. Consultant detective, very interesting question. So we only just received the sightings update report from Panthera. There's been a bit of a glitch in the system for us. We haven't received it in quite a while. But the last maps that I was able to show you all, Chitwa seems to be vacant from what we can gather. There seems to be a real sort of hole where there are no male leopards. Now, this is only based on sightings data. Please let me emphasize this. It's only when we see a leopard. Of course, there could be lots of moments that we are missing that is not seen by anyone, not just WildEarth. But Chitwa appears, from what we can gather, to be vacant. Now, a year ago, I saw Tingana eating fish there, but I think he could just smell it, and he seized an opportunity and went in. I really don't for one moment that that is Tingana's territory. Mulawati, I don't believe, has been spotted there. So in answer to your question, consulting detective, I really don't know. I don't believe any male leopard is using it, and it could be it's a very small area, and Chitwa Dam is heavily populated with all sorts of predators throughout the course of the year. So I just wonder if that deters any leopard from making it their territory. I'm really not sure. But I am replicating the maps. It's just taken me some time. There's not enough time in the day, let's put it this way. So yes, once I get that map finished, you'll be able to visually see that Chitwa seems to be vacant. And why? I don't know. No male leopard has came in. Wow, swooped it up, really. Essentially, yes. So a nomadic leopard would only be a much older leopard, and if they're not territorial, then they would stop calling and they would stop scent marking. So eventually, through a period of time, yes, another leopard would know. Tingana got very sick at one point in time, and he appeared to not really be fulfilling his territorial duties because he wasn't well. And Hukamuri really seized that opportunity to push further into Juma, to expand his territory. And he knew he was able to do this because Tingana wasn't calling and Tingana wasn't scent marking. So if there's no scent of a fresh male leopard actively patrolling his territory, then yes, another male leopard will come in for the taking. So if a male leopard goes nomadic, then other male leopards will absolutely be aware of this. The territory will not be marked anymore because that nomadic leopard will be hiding. They need to survive just by hiding, wandering, and possibly stealing lots of food, David. I apologize, I have not put one animal on screen yet. I am struggling to find anything this morning. Okay, I'm going to head to Twin Dams and see what's going on down that way. And as I do that, we're going to send you guys across to Sean, who's left the buffalo and now searching for other things.
What a morning by James. What an incredible find. I have 2 little leopard cubs. So as soon as I heard, so I just got told, go to James. So then we went to James. And then they're like, he's found leopard cubs. So then me and myself had to quickly find some signal. And then we were also watching. And very, very cool. I loved it at the end when they both came out into the open. Some incredible stuff. James, well done. Well done indeed. Our buffaloes, they moved into the trees. They were in the background there. They headed in there, so we left them. Looks like they were heading down into the river, probably going to a water hole where we saw those baboons. And we decided to come the other way and see what has to offer us down here. So we looked around the river and never had anything around there. So we're also going to head towards a water hole like Lauren and see what we can find. I don't know if Ryan, he went there yesterday to the Hyena den that some of the other rangers found for us. So quite far from where we are now. I'm hoping we're going to come across some other leopards on the way there, or even some giraffe, whatever it may be. But I think we're going to head in that general direction, which is way out in the east of the reserve. Close to where we saw the wild dogs 3 days ago. That's where these hyenas are. We're going to see, because now it's starting to warm up slightly. You see the sun coming up on our right hand side there. And that means that these predators are going to start going back to some shade, to a dinner, if they have one. So we want to try and find them as soon as we can before they go and they lie down. And I'm hoping there's a few small water holes and we might get some activity around there. Very interesting question from Miha. And she's asking about the water holes. And they dry up during the animal does their behavior. So Miha, yes, it does change their behavior. So 3 water holes. Just show you. Look, Archer. So you can see all of these blue dots are water holes. So there's 13 in total, but number 2, number 3, number 5 are our biggest water holes. These ones across the top here. And so if they dry up, we do see a bit of change in the animal's behavior, especially this one over here. This is the one that you've been to with all the hippos, a very, very, very big water hole. And if that dries up, a lot of animals usually frequent that one. So now they got to find other waters. So they change their routes, they change their paths, and they go to other more permanent sources of water. So we do see a bit of a change. We also see quite a few animals coming towards the lodges, to the swimming pools. Elephants, things like that, coming to drink from the pools, which is really, really awesome. But yes, so there's a change during the winter when the water holes do dry up. Hopefully this year they won't. But what we're going to do, we're going to carry on up this road. The signal's not too good up here, so what we're going to do is send you back to James and just hear how excited he is.
I'm obviously massively excited, but I've got a feeling of, I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's, certainly is the amount of relief that finally a cat has appeared on screen, but also just real calm joy that Thandi the leopardess, aged 13, has got 2 brand new cubs. Now they're just under here. So we're doing the road around the top of the den just to see if maybe Thandi's not lurking around close by. She's just in there. Basically, this Tamboti tree, Owen, that Tamboti tree there is the one, yeah, those are the roots and the crevice into which the little things disappeared. So she's just under there, or they are just under there. I don't know, I was trying to look through the bushes. I wasn't watching my screen very carefully. I don't suppose anybody got a look under their tails, because you can definitely sex them at that age. Yeah. Well, let's just carry on. I mean, they're definitely not going to pop up. Okay. We did record it, so we can have a look later just to see if maybe we'll get a look. Whew. Now, there are plenty of hyena tracks going up and down this road, and I wonder when she brought them there. Rexon and I discussed it about 2 days ago. I looked, went in there, but you know, if they're not moving, you can imagine if you got in there now, you'd say, well, they might be there, but I certainly can't see them. Phew! How wonderful for her, eh? 13 years old, 2 new ones. They've definitely done better than the last ones. And with any luck, these guys make it. They're through the really nasty first part, when they can't move at all. Those cats will be able to climb if they have to. And so, yes, they're massively vulnerable, but not as vulnerable as they were when they started. Michael, a leopard cub's chances of survival are poor. Probably 1 in 10. And if you look at Thandi's sister, her littermate Shadow, she died aged, oh, what was she? She was about 2 years ago, must have been 11 or so. She had failed to raise 1 cub to adulthood, except for one which was pulled into quarantine because he caught a rabid dog, but that's another story. He was re-released, we don't know what happened to him. So, you know, it's not easy. I definitely think that some are instinctually more skillful than others, just like some people are better guitar players than others, or better cricket players than others, or, you know. But regardless, it's not easy for any leopard to raise a youngster. I wondered yesterday when she headed north into Torchwood with Lauren, I wondered if she wasn't going to double back, and if she hadn't left the cubs here and was perhaps going on a patrol or to hunt or something like that. I also wonder if the last 3 times I've checked in there whether she was actually there or not. And I almost didn't check there again today. Oh well. Seth, you're 12, and I suppose the biggest litter of cubs that a leopard will have could be 4. It would be highly, highly unusual. 3 is relatively common, 2 much more common, 1 not as common as 2. So normally 2. Could be 3, possibly 4. I mean, I suppose in an outrageous circumstance it could be 5, but really, I think that would be highly unusual. Cheetahs, slightly more, so you can probably add 1 to all those totals. And leopards the same. And not leopards, lions the same. Wouldn't it be nice if we found Thandi now supping on something close by? Good. Let's now go back to Sean, who's got a predator that's no doubt on the move. It's not quite as, well, leopardish as the one we did.
Okay, so we managed, just while we were driving, to find these hyenas. There's actually 4 here. We are not anywhere near the den that I was speaking about earlier. These are just 4 hyenas. We came to investigate because it looked like they were eating, but it seems like they were eating that branch. But we're going to see, because this is where, see, there's a little bit of water here. If you see them, they're the other 2. You can see a little bit of water here, and there's long grass on the left. Now we had one, there we go, like that one, going into the water. Yeah, so we thought we would come and investigate, seeing that there's 4 of them. They're all looking very intently and dropping their heads and chewing. So I thought there might be a carcass here that they stole from a leopard. But no luck with that yet. But it's amazing. I mean, these animals, you often see hyenas. Look at that one chewing the branch again. Just on the right there. So that's the youngest one out of all of these ones. That one chewing on the branch. And it does actually look quite beautiful. Just the colors, how that sort of light mane and then the dark spots on the back. Generally I find hyenas quite ugly, but these ones are actually quite pretty.
I find them lovely.
Quite pretty. And very inquisitive. Marcel was just saying there's a little one on the left. Oh, he loves them at this age because they're quite inquisitive. Look at this one that's coming towards us, smelling us, looking. They're very inquisitive. They keep going down to this little river bank in front of us. Look at these 2 on the right here, Marcel. Have a look at the one on the left. It looks a little bit older. You can see some of its tail's missing. Look at his ears. Ears are a bit tattered. See, look at its little short, stumpy tail. I think it's a bit older. Probably been in a few more fights. Been fighting over food, maybe fighting with lions, fighting with hyenas, fighting with leopards. But very big, very inquisitive. So they are downwind from us. That's why you can see these ones just lifting their noses. They're smelling. They're smelling me and Marcel. Trying to figure out what we are, what we're doing. But beautiful animals. Very purposefully designed animals. You know, my tracker Ernie, he refers to them as the vacuum cleaners of the bush. One of his favorite animals. They just eat everything. What we're going to do though, we're going to investigate around here, see if we can find any signs of a carcass that they might have been chewing on. But in the meantime, we're going to send you back to Lauren on Juma.
Look what we just came across. What I've been after. 6 hyenas. Look at that tiny one right up the front. We're on the eastern boundary. We're on cheetah cut line. Now I don't have a monitor. We've got a bit of an issue with the monitor. So I'm going to need to get my binos out and see if I can recognize anyone. If any of you amazing hyena people can identify these. Oh, I see Saka. Saka's at the back left. I can see the scar on his hip. It's the Juma clan. Wow, this is so cool. Okay, Davi, let's get a little bit closer. But they can be skittish if you get too close, so I'm going to stay back. We'll maybe have to do some mobile shots. It's definitely the Juma clan. I see Saka. I wonder if I can drive and hold my binos up at the same time. Let's try. Let's try it. Someone's got a floppy ear at the front. What are you guys up to? This is incredible. This is exactly what I was requesting. Juma clanners. They've been on a kill, I think. It looked like they came out of Chitwa. What do you think, Davy?
Yeah.
Let me just see where they're going to go, and then we'll follow. One has a very muddy bottom. They've been sitting in some sort of pan. Many of you are wondering if they smell bad. I can't smell anything, actually. Nothing at all. Look at this. This is amazing. This is what I have been waiting for. Been very lucky with leopards. And now James is no longer my catless friend. He's my cubby friend. What a great morning, considering it's very, very overcast and bleak weather-wise. What a fantastic morning. Cubs and Juma clanners. Our Laramore, they're very far. We're right on the southern corner, southern eastern corner, opposite Chitwa. They're very far. Please do not worry. They've either been on a kill or they're heading somewhere. They're very alert. They keep on looking off into, well, to their left, which is into Juma. This is the sort of highest number of hyenas altogether that I've seen in a while. I don't see Ribbon though. Ribbon's not there. She could of course be back at the den by now. Shall we try and get closer, Darby? Okay, let's try. This is so cool. I want to try and get IDs. I'm just going to have to position myself and look through my binders, but I do see Saka. I wonder what they're all looking at, and I wonder if they'll lead us to a leopard. They're waiting for someone making a decision here. Yeah, the floppy ear is June. So the one on the very right with the left flopped over ear is June. She was always a middle ranker. She was always right in the middle. But I don't actually know where she sits now since the takeover. I'm not actually sure I've seen June since the takeover, to be honest. Saka's at the back. I think Heart's right up at the front, but she's covered in mud. Sorry, Davy, I've not really got a monitor to direct. She's laid down now. I think Heart's here. And we've got some youngsters for sure. Look at them smelling, deciding which way to go. This is lovely to see them all together like this. The close bonds between those and the Juma clan. So Saka, June and Heart. Saka's a boy. And June and Heart are females. So we've identified 3. We've got 3 to go. It's very interesting to see June. I really don't know where she sits on this new hierarchy. Should we try and go around them, Davy? They've all decided to go to sleep on the road, which is great. We're actually very close to Gwen's den, for those of you who know Gwen's den. We're right next to it. It's just over there. Hello, everybody. You guys are waiting for something. What is it? Huh? What are you waiting for? Until something fills your nostrils. Yes, I'm more than sure that's what you're waiting for. And as soon as you smell something delicious, you're going to go, aren't you? Oh, it's so good to catch up with everybody. I could not be happier right now. Interesting that Ribbon's not here, though. Of course, she's a mother now, so her priority is most definitely the den. But it's interesting to see them all without the matriarch. Who's going to step up here? There always has to be a leader. So who's next in charge? That's what I want to find out. Ah, Fika here as well. Thank you, Chris Rogue. Fika is here. So the 3 IDs that I mentioned are correct. June, Hart, Saka. And it appears Fika is also here in the mix. So that's 4 out of 6 that we've been able to identify. Fika's very pale. Very, very pale hyena. So I imagine the palest male that we can see is Fika. Now this one here, Davi, the small one, is tiny. Cacao is here too. Thank you, Chris Rogue. We've got 5. Yeah, so this one here, standing next to June, June with the floppy ear, is Sutu, a young one. So we have 3 males and 3 females. The males are Saka, Fika, and Cacao, and the females are June, Hart, and the youngster, who is a female, Sutu. They're just waiting. Atina, there was 6 females, dominant females, but unfortunately we do believe we've lost Pretty. So now we only have 5 females, and that's Ribbon, Tima, Hart, June, and Corky. They're the 5 female adults. Now when it comes to the males, we have 7 males that we know of. Of course, immigrants can join at any time, but we do have 7 males. And for the cubs, or the youngsters, should I say now, that's a little bit of a tricky one because we believe we have lost some. We know that we still have Swazi and Indabele around. That's Pretties too. We know that we still have Sutu. We cannot comment on Swana or Plonk anymore. It seems like we've lost Peddy, and of course there's the Ribbons, 2 new ones. So 5 females plus 7 males, that's obviously 12, and then all the youngsters. Oh no, don't go into Torchwood, guys. They're heading into a property east of us called Torchwood, exactly where Tandy went yesterday actually, and we will not be able to traverse. Thank you, Chris Rogue, for your help. I think the leader, when Ribbon's not here, and it's just a guess, is Hart. I really, really do feel Hart is high rank, and I think she comes under both Ribbon and Tima at number 3. So as my hyenas disappear, I'm going to continue to search the southern boundary. We are going to send you across to James, who's cruising the Milwaukee.
I am cruising the Mulawati, hoping to find some sign of the mother, but who knows? Sure can get when we can get it, right? If you did enjoy that little interlude with the leopards and you are enjoying our safaris, like I say every day, obviously it's not free to run this operation. It is completely to watch, however. So if you'd like to support us, you can go to wildearth.tv/support. That's wildearth.tv/support. So I'm going to drive down through here, see if we can pick up tracks of Tundi. I don't know where she went. I'm not sure if she will almost certainly have come back from Torchwood, which is the reserve to the east of us, to feed those cubs last night. Could have gone anywhere from there. There's a beautiful orange-breasted bushshrike that just landed here, Owen. Yeah, there. Have you got him?
I believe James has managed to find Tony's earplugs.
He's just in there. It's a gorgeous bird that goes... There it is. Or was it a grey-headed bushshrike? Ooh. It's a grey-headed bushshrike, not the orange-breasted. So its call is as follows. Is that a stick insect or is it a stick? No, it's a stick. Must be building a nest. It seems like an odd time for a bird to be building a nest. Is it gone? Cool. So that goes... the spookful, or ghost bird. So obviously now the big questions of paternity and that sort of thing must arise. And we are currently in what I still think is Tingana's territory. Now, Lauren was looking for Mulwati earlier. We've seen Mulwati in this area. We have seen Tingana in this area. So it's possible that those cubs are either Tinganas or Mulwatis. They could be anyone's really, because leopards do go extraterritorial to mate. And hopefully what will happen is that there will be a distinct territorial boundary, in that she's in one of those territories. She's in the territory of the father, because 80% of leopard cub deaths are caused by unrelated male leopards. Sam, we don't play any role at all in maintaining leopard genetic diversity, but basically with the cats there can be a certain amount of inbreeding before it's a problem. Up to 3 generations I've read, but whether that's true or not I don't know. So for example, Tandi's father was also her grandfather. Just think about that for a second. Tandi's father was also her grandfather. It has no problem, or had no deleterious effects on her or her sister, and so it does happen, firstly. Secondly, what happens is that males normally disperse away from their natal territories and females normally stay close by, and that's wonderfully illustrated by Tlalamba, who has wedged out a territory for herself just north of Tandi's. Tandi's moved further back to the south. Tlalamba's kind of eked or wedged herself in between a leopardess to the north and Tandi, so that's totally normal. That's kind of textbook leopard behavior. And the last male leopard that we watched raised here, Hosanna, wonderful, wonderful cat who we watched from the day he was born, has dispersed now down to an area near Singita on the Sand River. So that's kind of classically how it happens, and it means that Hosanna will not mate with any of his relatives. Maybe distant cousins, but that's okay, but certainly not with his aunt or close relatives. So the danger was that he'd hang around, his father would die, he'd just take over his father's territory, and he'd mate with his cousins, his aunt, his sister. Tandi's his sister. It's difficult to think of her as his sister because she's so much older, but that's how it would work. Right, Lauren's hyena gang is still operating. I wonder if they didn't perhaps smell a kill last night.
My hyenas are up to something. I've managed to relocate them all again, and they're really, really onto something. Now there's another vehicle behind me, so I'm just going to pull up to the left here, Davy. Ribbon's here, of course she is. Of course they're up to something. I think they're going to lead us somewhere if we're to keep up with them, of course. Oh, this is the sighting I've been waiting for. I've seen a lot of leopards recently. I've been very, very lucky with the leopards. And I've been waiting for a Juma clan interaction. Of course, Ribbon's here. You see her, Davy, second from the front. Of course she is. Queen Ribbon. Oh, they're all going to walk past. Here comes the girls. Hi, guys. Can you tell me where you're going, please? Hello. I want to sniff my vehicle. This one right here. Hi, Ribbon. Don't smell pleasant, but definitely not as bad as the lions.
Stations are asking about Tony's den coming.
Heart is looking huge. Oh, I turned the wrong radio off there. Apologies, I turned Louise off. That's not what I want to do. I want to turn James off. No offense, James. They're up to something. I'm going to do a quick U-turn and follow these hyenas immediately. I want to know what they're up to and where they're going. I think they may potentially lead us to a leopard. Do you know that? If they stay on Juma, of course. Heart is looking very swollen. I'm very suspicious about Heart. I feel that she is the next female to possibly give us a litter. Oh, I forgot I'm in the nightmare car. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. It's going to take a long time, everyone. I'm not a fan of this car in the slightest. You're a new viewer. Great to have you on board. Absolutely excellent. Please do keep sticking with us. Keep jumping on board, and I'm sure you will love every moment. Hi. No, they will not attack us. Hyenas are not man-eaters, essentially. They're very habituated, especially the Juma clan. As you may have noticed, we know these individuals. We know them all. All 6 of them. Or wait, actually... No, guys, don't go into chitwa. Don't go into chitwa. So no, they will not attack us. They're very, very habituated and very used to humans. They will come right up to your vehicle. They'll sniff your vehicle. They're very inquisitive, very intelligent. I'll just go forward, Davy, because we've got some here that we can get a nice view of. See? Good morning, beautiful. Not everyone finds hyenas beautiful, but I have to say I am crazy about them. I really, really think they are the most amazing animals. Bizarre looking, but also very cute looking. Louise is saying she thinks hyenas are better looking than most dog breeds. I'm not sure I would entirely agree with that, but they are. They're gorgeous, especially the youngsters. They're running. They're all running. I think something's got a kill here, and I think they've just picked up that it's here. Davy, I'm going to go forward. They know that there's a kill, and what they do is they wait until they can get a direction. Can you see them? I think it's worth us looking up all the trees here. There's no way with last night's storm that leopards will not have made a kill yet last night. No way. They've definitely on the scent of something. And what they do is they follow their nose. So hyenas will look very erratic. They'll look very clumsy because they're weaving in and out. But what they're actually doing is they've got a scent in their nostrils and they're trying to figure out which way it's coming from. So they'll sort of move to the left and keep walking to the left. And then once they realize that the smell is becoming diluted or weaker, they'll then change direction and go to the right. and follow it once it gets stronger in their nostrils, if that makes sense. So that's why they constantly are walking back on themselves. They're constantly erratic. They're constantly moving around like this, because they're actually following their nose and they're waiting for the scent to be the strongest, so then they'll know which direction to move in. Now, normally we can traverse this property, everyone. This is Chitwa. I can't wait to show all the new viewers Chitwa, but just due to lockdown rules at the minute, we're not traversing it. But normally we can. Okay, I'm going to stick with my Juma clanners. I feel like I'm one of them for now. And while I do that, we are going to send you all the way back across to andBeyond in Ngala to see what Sean is up to.
We are driving. We left those hyenas, so the 4 of them, I think there's something there. It was looking a bit fishy. Those hyenas were sniffing around. They were going down into the drainage line, the little riverbed, coming back out, going back in, running away. So I've sent some of the other rangers in there to have a look. We couldn't get into that riverbed from where we were. So some of the other guys are going to get in, they're going to investigate, and I'm hoping they're going to find something for us. Possibly some leopards. If you're tuned in, maybe 10 days ago, we saw 3 leopards together, the mother with the 2 cubs, and I think it might be them in and around there. So anyway, they're going to go have a look there. We are heading to a water hole, one of the big ones that I showed you on the map. We were talking about what happens when the water dries up. So we're going to head to that one, see maybe some hippos, whatever's down there. They also managed to find the lions again, who are just sleeping. So possibly this afternoon we'll head that side, watch some sleeping lions. But for now the weather's changed again. I'm not sure if you can see. You can see all the clouds coming back. The sun disappeared as quickly as it came. It was only out for about 7 minutes, which is good, which is very good for us. It means we'll still get a bit more activity from all the animals, which is wonderful, because that's what we're looking for. Me and myself were chatting when we were watching the hyenas, and for me, seeing the animals is obviously very, very cool. You know, seeing a hyena or a sleeping lion or whatever it may be, but it's the behaviors that you remember. Like, you know, you're going to remember James found those leopard cubs because it's cubs and it's really special. But what you're going to remember the most is that, you know, they were walking through the bushes, through the trees, went back into the den. It's that sort of behavior that you remember. With the hyenas now, you know, the one eating the log and coming up to the car, smelling, that sort of thing. That's what you remember. That reminds you of the experience. You're not going to remember, oh, hyena, you know, you remember, oh, I remember we saw the hyena do that. And this weather allows for that sort of interaction, that sort of behavior. Which is exactly what we are looking for. What is that? Lots of hyena tracks. I must say, since this whole thing started, we have seen a huge increase in hyena activities. We got a question from JD wanting to know what my favorite animal is. My favorite animal would either be a leopard or a elephant. JD, a leopard or an elephant? Purely because elephants are very cool to watch. I was just chatting to you now about behaviors, and elephants are the most interesting behaviorally. They're always doing stuff, feeding, drinking, playing with each other, chasing cars, or I've seen an elephant chase a giraffe once. So they're always doing stuff, which is very, very cool to watch. And then leopards are just very photogenic. Beautiful animals to take pictures of. You saw those cubs, very adorable when they're young, when they're old, all of it. So those two would probably be my favorite. It's a tie between the elephant and the leopard, I would say. But it's you don't want to get caught up in the big five. I think that is a big problem. You know, a lot of people get caught up in the big five. It's important. James is quite good. He also stops for birds, you know. It's interesting to look at those things. Mongoose, the chameleons we stop for at night. It's important to look at the giraffes and the zebras as well. Not just chasing after the big five. Although they are the most beautiful to look at. So JD, it is complicated. I don't know what all of your guys' favorite animals are or favorite interactions. But if you have any, put it in the comments what your favorite animals are. In the meantime, while we head towards this waterhole, see if we can find maybe some elephants there drinking, I'm going to send you back across to James, see what he's managed to find now.
I'm afraid I've managed to find absolutely nothing at this stage. We are going to do the southern, there's a fire break on the southern boundary, and Lauren has actually still managed to stay with her hyenas. I don't think they've gone, they seem to have turned around. So something is afoot in this part of the reserve. Now, whether it is on this reserve or on a next door reserve remains to be seen. But perchance we shall have some luck. So nice to see the Juma clan all together like that. It's been a long time since we've had more than just drips or drabs of the clan. Either they've had a territorial battle, and remember they were calling when we were at the den, and I wonder if they haven't had a territorial battle and their blood's up. Either that or they can smell some meat somewhere. For them to gather like that for a kill, no, it's not a lion kill. Yes, you would expect it. You'd expect to find the whole clan there. Maybe there's a lion kill close by. They're just riling each other up before piling in. But the bush remains amazingly thick, so who knows. Yes, Tom, I know you're 4 years old and the world is probably a friendlier place to you now than it's going to seem after I finish this answer. But yes, Tom, sometimes hyenas do attack baby leopards. It's not because hyenas are bad. It's just because out here there's this thing called competition. And it's very difficult for all the animals to survive. And so sometimes what they do is they do kill each other's babies, the carnivores especially, the meat eaters, because it means that there is less, or there are fewer other carnivores who might try and eat what they want to eat. So yeah, it does happen from time to time. It's very, very sad, but it doesn't mean that the animals who do the killing, like hyenas, are bad, because a leopard will kill a hyena's baby as well. A lion will do the same. So it's very sad, it's difficult to understand, but yeah, it does happen, I'm afraid, from time to time. We just have to kind of accept these things and watch. There's nothing we can do. There's a young bird in that nest, but I don't think there is. So this is the kind of area where we've seen Tundi before, we've seen the hyenas before. There's an old hyena den quite close by here. Maybe that clan, ooh, Batalier's just come off a tree here. They do have a nest close by, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything. A Batalier is a scavenger predominantly. Maybe the hyena clan has decided to move dens and they're scouting out a new spot. Maybe that's why they're ganging about in the southeastern corner. What you got? A water pig. Where is it? Yeah. Have you got him? There was a warthog that was there. Truth-hearted? Is it Truth-hearted? Is that the name? Oh, Hoof-hearted. Hoof-hearted, it's the same drainage line, same riverbed where Brent found Shongile and Hosanna. I always thought it was slightly further north of that, but you know what, it could easily be the same one. It might well be, in fact. I've always just imagined it being further north because when he first... There goes a very terrified warthog. When Brent first found that Tundi was, at least that Karula was in labour, he was just a bit north of that den site. I guess that's why I've just always imagined it a bit further north. Lauren's calling me. Go ahead.
James, do you copy?
Go ahead.
James, are you still on the southern fire break?
Yes, affirmative.
If you drive past Wednesday, you just have a little look. We've just been hard and she's got circle marks. Just have a little peek into the vein if you had to go past.
Will do, thank you. So that's just Lauren saying that she reckons Hart has got suckle marks, and so if we go past this old den, we must just check, which we'll do. So that's not too far from here. Let's just head up there. Penny Cake, you say when you grow up you want to be me. I promise you don't. I promise you don't want to be me. I think you'll be much happier being you. If you like leopards like I do, you might spend many of your days as frustrated as I do, alternating between extreme joy and extreme frustration.
What is the last update with Hyena? They crossed into the third route and I lost them after that, but I'm still on contact looking for them.
So the den site is just around this corner. I think Lauren must have been a bit far north to check it, maybe. So we'll just stick our noses in. We're going to send you over to Sean soon. I'm just quickly going to look in the den that's over here. So the den site's in here. We've checked this den at least 3 times in the last 2 weeks as well. Didn't look like there was much fresh activity, and I don't think that position has changed. I don't think there's any fresh activity there. What do you think, Owen? Looks to me like there are no fresh tracks. Yeah, I would say that remains unoccupied. Not necessarily. Alright, let's go over to Sean, find out what's happening at his waterhole. I think there is an aquabuck there. Lauren, come in.
We made it to the waterhole, and yeah, we managed to find some waterbuck. You can see in the picture there, the big male. Very big male, very beautiful set of horns as well. He's just relaxing. There were a few more as we arrived, but they walked off. If Marcel zooms out a tad and looks on the termite mound just to his right, there you can see there's a big female on that termite mound, and there's actually 2 little calves there as well. Can't see them at the moment. They're just on the other side of the mound, but I'm hoping they're going to come down towards the waterhole. Beautiful animals, these waterbuck. She does. Up on that termite mound, she's looking very beautiful up there. Very different to the other antelope, just as they look, you know, their fur, their coat's a lot longer, a lot more luscious. I find them to be quite underappreciated.
They're like the golden retriever of the antelope world.
Oh, there we go. So Marcel has just referred to them as the golden retriever of the antelope world. their coats. I'm assuming that's what he's referring to. It's their coats. But beautiful animals, obviously water dependent. Obviously they're quite close to water. I think it's about 5 or 8 kilometers they can go from water. They generally stay around that sort of distance. I've just been told that back at FC they refer to them as aqua buck. First one I've heard. But there's that telltale circle, that white circle on the rump. That you just know you see that, and it has to be a waterbuck. Very unique and definitive. Or distinctive, sorry, not definitive. Very distinctive. You see they must have come down here a little bit earlier. Yes, Catherine commented about his horns. Catherine, I do agree 100%. He has beautiful horns. I often say to my guests, it's between the Waterbuck and the Cuckoo that have the best looking horns in the African bush. And they, see, the Cuckoo is quite complex, all the circles and the turns and such. Where that Waterbuck's got that simplistic, less is more look going for him.
I don't know. The bush, yeah, not that. Sable also?
Sable, yeah, sable. We don't really get sable here. Myself saying the sable look really beautiful.
And
their horns.
the
They're not too common in this area.
And the Gemsbok in the desert areas.
But you can see now those Waterbuck headed off. But there are a couple of hippos in the water. They have... Yes. So we're just comparing now what our favourite horns are. Sorry, Marcel, just scan to the left there. There's a whole little family of Waterbuck. Hard left, far left, far left, far left. So have a look there. There's a mother. It looks like she's got 2 calves. I doubt they're both hers. A little bit more left. I doubt they're both hers, but they're just both with her. There might be another female behind those bushes. There's a little family. It's actually the second time that I have seen a mother with 2 calves, I guess. You see there, look at that. There come the other 3. That camouflage is just incredible. Behind the bushes, you can't see them. So they have 1 calf each, except that 1 female. But as I was saying, second time I've seen a mother with 2 like that before. There was one on the other waterhole that were looking actually also very majestic. Even the females without the horns look very beautiful. But what I was saying is, yes, we're comparing what our favorite horns are. Interesting question from Harshal. Wanted to know why they are called Waterbuck. Harshal, I'm sure there is some sort of scientifically based reason. For me, these animals, they rely a lot on water. They stay very close to water. They also find that these animals, the Waterbuck, they got like this oily layer on their fur. So if they get chased, let's say now a lion comes or a pack of wild dogs comes or something like that, then these Waterbucks will actually run into the water, and they stand and they hide in the water. They know the wild dogs, the lions, the leopards, those sorts of things will not go into the water hole. And their oily layer on their fur sort of helps, it's like a waterproof layer, helps keep them dry. They can stay in the water a lot longer than other antelope species. Who they stay in the water too long, it's not good for them. Things like the Impalas, the Cuckoos. Where these Waterbuck, they adapted, they got that special layer so that they can go into the water and stand there for a while without having those negative effects that the other antelope will have. So I would wager that that is why they are referred to as Waterbuck. They are water dependent, they need the water, they don't stay too far from it, and they can use it to go and hide inside. I mean, there are lots of them here. We saw that male with that other female looking majestic on the mound. There's 2 calves there. We just saw those 3 females with the 2 calves. There's another female way at the other end of the waterhole. So this morning we were talking about what weather the animals like, and I would imagine these Waterbuck like the rainy weather. Perfect time of the year for them. But they all seem to have left now. They probably came down early morning, had a drink while it was still nice and cool, windy, a little bit of rain, had their drink, and now slowly moving off to feed. Spend their day eating, probably come back here a little bit later on this afternoon into the evening. Oh, there's some hippos in front of us. So yes, we're finishing our antelope horn chat, and we've got a number of winners: the Waterbuck, the Cuckoo, the Oryx. Someone said Sable. So a number of options, guys. Google them, have a look at all the different ones. Let me know this afternoon what you think, which is your favorite. We're going to leave this waterhole. Not much activity otherwise. I was hoping for some elephants to be drinking. Okay, question from Ugg Papa, maybe Ugg or Pug Papa. Anyway, wanting to know, I think it's Pug Papa, if we get earland here. So, very, very rarely I hear Bug Papa. And yeah, very rarely. In the 3 years I've been here, it has happened once. Last year maybe May, June. So this roughly this time of the year. And these three of them, came on to andBeyond Ngala on our eastern side where we saw the wild dogs the other day. They came in there and they spent a grand total of maybe 7 minutes on our property. And I remember it clearly. I was driving on the main road on that side, and one of our female rangers, Tessa, was like, yeah, stations, I have found 3 eland. It was just like silence for a while, and then someone said, just confirm eland, and not kudu, and she was like, yes, it is an eland. And then everyone just tried to get there, because people have been working here for 5-6 years and have never seen eland on andBeyond Ngala. So everyone tried to get there and have a look, but before anyone got there, they left and they crossed out of our boundaries. So unfortunately, only Tesla got to see them, but we did see tracks of the eland, which was still pretty cool for us. But while we carry on driving, seeing if we can find hopefully some eland, we're going to send you back to Lauren, who seems to find some spiders.
I found 2 golden orb web spiders in separate webs completely adjacent to one another. This is incredibly cool. One has, well, I don't actually quite know what it is, but it's some form of breakfast. The one closer to us, it's clinging on to its food parcel for dear life. The other one, I'm not too sure what this other one's up to. Now, this is really unusual, guys. I can see the males. This is 2 females who would absolutely compete with one another. There is no love between these 2 females. And I have never seen 2 females. They're very territorial over their webs, this close to one another. Now, while we look at the spiders, I think James already updated you all. Heart absolutely has suckle marks. Huge lactating nipples and suckle marks. 100%. I'm positive that I saw that as she was running past. I'm not sure if we managed to get it on camera or not, but I'm 100% sure that Heart has suckle marks. I really am. And we've been suspicious about Heart for some time. It's really about time Heart had a litter, to be perfectly honest with you. So my new mission, since, well, James did so well with Tandy's cups this morning, will be to also check the hyena dens that we know of. Now, I think some have already been checked. I think James has been checking them. I've been checking them. But they could, of course, have acquired a new termite mound, a new den that we don't know about, or one that they've always had and we just didn't know about. So, hyena den search must begin. Ribbon is clearly not at the den. There's no point in going there because she's on a mission. They all ran into the Mulwanini, and apparently there's a kill there. I don't know who made that kill. I think it's a leopard, and that's where the hyenas ended up. The Mulwanini is on Torchwood, so sadly we cannot go there. But that's the updates from my side, so very exciting. We may actually have more cubs, not leopard cubs, but more hyena cubs. Feels so good to be on Juma right now. I cannot believe these female golden orbs. Consultant detective, you're saying you wonder if these 2 are girlfriends, and that's why they live next door to each other. That is an interesting theory. Very possibly. They don't like the males very much, so maybe they prefer hanging out with their own kind, i.e. other females. I highly doubt they're friends, but it's a good theory, consultant detective. I see where you're going with that. They are on separate webs, from what I can see. Or are they? The one closest to us through my binos looks like it's suspended in mid-air. Anushka, I've never seen female spiders fight, but I do not think they would be happy together. They're the sort of dominant of the two sexes, as you know. They're territorial over the web that they create. So I'm guessing the one in the front is not suspended in midair. I mean, that's just a guess. But through the binos, it looks that way. So I am guessing if these two females meet, it's not going to be a pleasant gathering. But I really don't know, Anushka. Territorial and dominance does not go well when you wish to share it with another of your own kind. I can't imagine what they're doing here. Isn't she beautiful? That oh, did you just see her poo? That's the first time I have ever seen a spider poo. I actually got asked that on live drive, and I know it sounds really bizarre, but it's an important part of biology. Do spiders poo? And yes, they do. Of course they do. They do have an anus right at the rear end of the abdomen, and what they release in terms of waste material is in liquid form. It's not a solid fecal matter, if you like. It's liquid, and she just did that. I think Davi managed to capture it.
Yeah, we did.
Fascinating. I've never seen a spider poo before. What a morning. I can now tick that off my bucket list. Kelly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, it has 8, as a spider should. Now, if you look at the third set of legs, they're bent over. They're clutching whatever wonderful delight she is eating. I think she has her chelicerae and her mandibles deep into this feast. It looks like it's some sort of moth wrapped up in silk. But that third set of legs are bent over, if that makes sense. And she's definitely got 8. But I used to be friends with the golden orbweb spider on Gallagher Shortcut. Yeah, she was my girlfriend, consultant detective. And she's gone missing, which is heartbreaking, but she only had 6 legs. So they can survive with missing legs. But of course, spiders are arachnids, and they should have 8. This is fascinating. This morning just keeps on getting better and better. I just need to go and find my leopard now. Davi has expectations. You are all amazed by the spider poop, sorry. Yes, that's the first time I have ever seen it. But a viewer actually asked me not too long ago, do spiders poo? And we went into quite great detail about it, because it's an insect. It's quite difficult to imagine them pooing. And I think I've got a diagram of it. Hold on, let me see if I can find this for you. I'm sure I have a diagram. Just give me 1 second. And it's very, very liquid in texture. And that is exactly what we just managed to witness. Okay, I found it for you. I'm just going to have to find... Oh, some of you are commenting that the other spider, which means the one in the foreground, is holding a piece of bark and not an insect. Aha, I wonder why on earth it would be holding a piece of bark. I cannot begin to imagine. Thank you for that. My little monitor that we normally look through is broken. So here, just quickly, this is the anatomy of a spider. I don't know which spider, but here, right at the back, this is the abdomen. At the very lower abdomen, exactly where you would imagine it to be, this is the anus. Tiny little hole where, of course, the waste comes from. And they have a digestive system. It's not too far off ours, and it ends in the anus, very close to the spinnerets, but the spinnerets are more on the underside of the tummy, almost like a belly button. So yes, they do have an anus. I think that is an insect. I think it's just completely wrapped in silk. It's been cocooned, if you like. Yes, I think it's some form of grasshopper, or it used to be a grasshopper, shall we say. I don't think it's bark, but I can see why some of you thought that. I think it's definitely an insect. I can see what looks like hind legs, I think, which makes me think it's some form of grasshopper. And it's been wrapped and wrapped and wrapped in silk. Louise says she thinks that she sees wings, very possibly. I really don't think it would be bark. I think this spider is clinging on to its breakfast, possibly in case the other female decides to steal it. What a cool moment. We'll need to remember this spot, Davy, and come back and see if these two females are girlfriends after all. Do our own detective work, consulting detective. With low ambient light, with what we're working with right now, it's very difficult to see the web. It actually looks like these spiders are suspended in midair. They're not. It's just visually very difficult to see the web because we've got such low light and no sunshine. Can you see the golden hues?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Davy and Louise are saying that you guys can all see the golden hues. And it's very, very gold. Yellow gold, almost. And of course, this is from the pigment that the actual females themselves who produce the webs, the males don't produce the webs, the females do all the hard work. They can actually adjust the amount of pigment that they put into the silk that comes out of their spinnerets. So they can change the sort of hues and the tones of the web. So some golden orb web spiders will be very, very, very gold, like this one, almost yellow. And some will be just a tint gold that you almost think it's an optical illusion or you're going crazy. The spider puts the pigment into the silk, which is fascinating. Wow, I think we may let these ladies be, but what a sighting. So once again, if you are enjoying the safaris and you're learning something, or even if you're not learning anything and you're just enjoying laughing at James and I most of the time, then please do head to the website wildearth.tv, as there's an option there to support us if you wish. It is much appreciated from our side. And I believe James has already made it to Buffalo's Hook Dam. Wow, that man drives fast. I think we should start driving too now, Davy. A leopard to find, and time is running out. I've set the standard too high now, everyone. Too high. Aha, talking of Mr. Hendry himself, he's at Buffalo's Hook Dam. Let's go across to him and see how he's getting on.
We've got a remarkable little feeding party here of terrapins. And they're quite close to the surface. I don't know what they're eating. There must be something on the surface. But you can see that one there popping his head up every so often and grabbing at something. There we go. We're on the same one here, Owen. Which one are you on? The close one?
Yes.
You can't see what he's eating. He's now looking at us. They are, I must confess, not the most attractive creatures in the world, I don't think. Louise just saying she thinks they're kind of cute. Maybe. They're also exceptionally smelly. I know what you mean, Louise, they are. There's a little insect there behind the terrapin. Let's see if we get a live kill. And it's tempted to throw down a bait. Turn to your right. There we go. Here we go. Owen, here we go. Oh, it's so close. That's it. Here we go. No, it's exactly like Louise says, like watching a lion hunt. The suspense is killing us. There you are. Turn! Slash! Louise can hear distress calls from that insect in the final control room. I suspect quite strongly, however, that it's not in fact an insect, but perhaps a piece of dirt. Or a leaf. It's quite tempestuous waters that this terrapin is having to deal with. There are his friends. Assuming they're friends, they might be family. They don't really live in families, though. I don't think any reptiles live in families, do they? But for very briefly after they've hatched. I don't think the nuclear family is something that ever has been a big thing in the reptiles. Anna-Marie? There are frogs around still. We have heard a number. They are definitely vastly reduced from the heat of the summer, but at night you do hear the odd painted reed frog, grass frog, and certainly foam nest frog. There are not a lot of them, though. They are few and far between. The doves, however, are very enthusiastic about the morning, as always. They're all universally cheerful. Well, Charles, strictly speaking, a hippo can't in fact swim. They sink, and then they walk along the bottom. So, I guess maybe an elephant is a better swimmer. Depends how you define swimming, really. Elephants are very accomplished swimmers. They do swim quite well. Pretty sure they float. Yeah, they do float. So, I'm going to say elephants, if you are going to be strict about your definition of swimming. What can you see, Owen? The Burchell's starling. I think that this Burchell starling has become habituated to human beings because a lot of people come and have their drinks here, and I suspect they feed the birds. Oh, many of you wondering if this hippo is Dewey. No, this hippo is not Dewey. This hippo is a hippo that lives here in Biffleshoek Waterhole, and I think is the mother of the calf that is almost certainly lurking underneath those bushes there. Dewey should be in picture on the dam cam. Also, that hippo, just zoom in as close as you can, if you don't mind. Seems to have some kind of skin condition on the back of its head. Looks like somebody stuck a whole lot of marbles to it. Ugh. Louise has just come up with the perfect answer for why she looks like that. Her child, the calf, was playing with glue and marbles, and that's obviously why she looks like that. Thank you, Louise. Yes, I think that's totally correct. If any of you are wondering who Louise is, she's not like a Siri or anything like that. She is an actual person sitting in our final control room here at Juma, and she watches the feeds coming out of Lauren's car, my car, and Sean's car, and she'll cut between the two. And then there's another director in there whose name is Natalie today, and she will read your questions from social media, filter out the ones that are relevant to the drive, and paste those into a document which Louise then reads out to us through our ears. And that's how it works. Otherwise, I think there's not a huge amount of action here, and Louise has just informed me that she's had enough of the sighting and that we are going to go to the highlight of the day. Well, I'm going to say, because we had leopard cubs this morning, the secondary highlight of the day, and that, of course, is Marcel's fact of the day.
Yes, we are here for Marcel's fun fact of the day. It's actually quite an interesting one and very, can't think of the word now, but very good with the weather that we're having.
Thanks, Sean. So, seeing that we had quite a nice thunderstorm yesterday evening, I'll share something about some lightning. The average lightning strike heats the area around it up to about 30,000 Kelvin, which is 30,273 degrees Celsius around about. And over the entire surface of the Earth, there's about 44 lightning strikes per second, which is about 1.4 billion strikes per year. And the area with the highest concentration of lightning strikes is the river mouth of Catatumbo on Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, where there's a storm occurring about between 140 to 160 nights each year, and it lasts about 10 hours per storm. And then you have about 280 lightning strikes per hour. Yeah.
For those of you that have seen a big, proper storm, like a real lightning storm, it is very, very, very cool. One of my favorite, when I used to live in Thailand, one of my favorite things was watching, or like a proper Joburg storm. But you see these storms coming over the ocean or over the mountains or wherever they're coming from, and that is an awesome sight to see. Because that's what I was talking to myself earlier. And I'm all about, if it's going to storm, if it's going to be cold, if it's going to rain, then it must do it properly. You know, I want hail, I want thunder, I want lightning, I want big raindrops. You know, make it worth my while. If I'm going to sit inside, make it worth my while. So I'm sure all of you viewers in the States get some big tropical storms and hurricanes and tornadoes and all of that. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. You know, here we get a little trickle, a couple clouds. Joburg gets some good storms. I remember we used to go on sports tour to Joburg, and they used to be cancelled because of the thunderstorms and the lightning. In the good old days, now we just drive around and get wet when it rains. But it's still fun. It's still fun. So what we did while you were back at Juma, we went to our hyena den, but there was nothing there. No fresh tracks, no signs of any activity, especially not any parents. So we left, carried on, and now we're actually going to head past where they had the lions. I just want to make sure they're still there. And weather like this, we were saying earlier, there can still be quite a lot of activity from the predators. So there's a chance they may have gotten up. I just want to make sure they're still there, just so we can keep tabs on them, see where they're moving, what they're doing, see who's there, how many of them. But the search, got a bit of a difficult question from Cyan, and they want you to know how many clans of hyenas we have at andBeyond in Ngala. Now, Cyan, we've actually discussed this amongst the rangers that are still here a number of times over the last sort of 10 days, and we've just come to the conclusion we can't be sure. You know, it constantly changes here. There's no fences, we've got no boundaries. Animals just come and go as they please. There's some areas around here that are just so big that we haven't been inside. We don't know. But we estimate, it's a rough estimate, to be maybe between sort of 5 and 7 different clans. You know, den-wise, we've got this one den that I just said we had a look at, and we've got a few older dens that have had hyenas in the past. They're currently all inactive, but it's a very rough estimate, and we're not 100% sure. You know, we don't keep as close a tab on our hyenas like Juma, which I think what they do is really cool, you know, to be able to say, you know, this is ribbon, and they got the whole hierarchy, things like that. For us, I think it's just too many hyenas. You know, I once saw 40 hyenas together, 40 of them, just spread out in an area. There's a giraffe carcass, and there were 40 hyenas. And that was just in one section of the reserve. So if that's one, I think that was 2 clans, because they were lying sort of quite separate. So I think that was 2 clans, and that's just in the east. And then you still got the north, the west, the south, the central parts. So yeah, I reckon probably between 4, 5, 6, 7 different clans. I would estimate. Because wherever you go, you see hyenas. Now, of course, clans can split up and go different ways and things like that. But yeah, I would say around there. It's a ballpark figure, saying, but around there. Around there. You just always see them, as I was saying earlier, especially now. They just pop around. But as we carry on heading down the road, just going to see where those lines are. We're going to see if we can find them. In the meantime, we're going to send you across to Lauren and get an update from her side.
Hyenas. That sounds like a dream for me, and it also sounds like Mara. That's some clan numbers, that is. Oh, have I missed the North Clan and Waffles? Queen Waffles, who's still going strong, by the way. Not matriarch, but still strong. That is a huge number of hyenas. I'm very jealous, I must say. But of course, I love our Juma clan, and they're a little bit easier to keep track of, our Juma clan. Slightly easier. Now, I was going to pop into Ribbon's den on the way home, but there's no point. Ribbon's on a mission. And this is what example. So she'll be out with the clan, hunting, socializing. But then, once she's fed and it's time to rest, she'll come back to the den. She'll nurse, cubs will suckle, and then she'll sleep. She'll sleep throughout most of the day, and then, of course, get active again. So when people see Ribbon alone at the den, it's not that she's not socializing with the clan. She's just keeping her cubs stashed away in the natal den, which is completely normal. Completely normal behavior for hyenas. No one's welcome yet. The clan know that they're not welcome, and they will get introduced to the cubs at some point. I am anticipating it's going to be sometime very soon, but definitely within the next 2-week time frame for sure. But I'm hoping it's within 1 week that we start to see a lot more of the cubs. And if Heart has cubs, then the communal den will be both of them. So right now, I would imagine, if I am correct about Heart, they've got their cubs stashed in separate natal dens. We just haven't gotten Heart's one yet. And when it comes to the time when the cubs are ready to be introduced, they will combine and they will both come to a communal den, which will be amazing. So not only will we have hyena cubs running around, but leopard cubs, and I cannot tell you how happy I am right now. Life on Juma is good. JD, it depends on the location, the environment. So the sort of statistics for Juma, or at least this area, the Sabi Sands, let's say, hyenas are said to 50% of the time and scavenge 50% of the time. So they absolutely do hunt. People think that they don't. They do. They're really good at hunting, especially when you see them in large numbers. When you saw the Juma clan, 6 of them walk towards my car like that. They're fierce. Safety in numbers, power in numbers. Whereas in areas like the Masai Mara, where there's huge clans, and I mean the North clan is said to be 90 strong now. 90 hyenas strong. Got the ID kit. Well, my goodness, it's a big clan. Then they're said to hunt somewhere in the region between 80 to 90% and scavenge the rest. But any predator, whether you're a lion, a leopard, a hyena, always scavenge if the opportunity presents itself. I watched Osana Tungana's son, sorry, not Chandy, rip a huge leg of some sort of antelope right out of Pretty's mouth. He scavenged her. They will also scavenge from one another when given the chance. Hyenas just happen to be very, very good at it. They're really scavenging. Louise remembers that sighting. It was Jamie's sighting. I remember watching it. It was such a cool sighting. And it just showed that leopards will also scavenge. Hosanna saw Pretty coming with this huge piece of flesh in her mouth. Behind the tree, he used the tree to hide himself, jumped out at her and stole it. And Pretty, I think, got the fright of her life. Lions will also scavenge. Easy. Free meal. Oh, it looks like Sean has already been successful. We're going to send you all the way over to him as he has managed to find the Birmingham Pride.
We did manage to find these lions. Right where they are left, you can see very lazy and inactive. Not much happening. She managed to fall asleep with her head up. But all of them are still here. These two closest to us, they do have their heads up. These are two of the cubs. And there's one thing you can see, they are a lot cleaner than they have been. Remember yesterday Rowan had them eating. Lots of blood, very dirty. Now they're all much cleaner. Probably got a little bit of rain on them. Lots of grooming. Now they're much cleaner. But yeah, there's only 13 of them here, so we are missing 3. We're missing those 2 big males, the Ross males. And we're missing that young female that I think Rowan or Nikki had at the den. So it's just the 13 of them here, but they look very comfortable. We're just making sure, as I said, that they are still around, because this weather is a good time for them to be moving. I think at the moment they are just too full to be doing any sort of activity though. I'm just happy the young male's here. He's fast asleep in the corner, but he's here. He's back with them. He got chased away the other day, but he luckily managed to get some food. Joined back up with the pride. You can see he's looking very healthy. He got a full stomach there. Looking very content. But it's good to know they're probably just going to sleep here for the rest of the day. They got a little bit of water just off to the left-hand side. We can't see it, but it is there. And you see some of them have actually been drinking. There's a little dirt patch on the front of their mouths. KP wanting to know when are lions generally the most active. Now KP, most of the activity would happen at night. Generalized, most of the activity happens at night. We're chatting about their vision and how good their night vision is. That's when they hunt, that's when they move. The weather's a lot cooler, so their body's not using a lot of energy, a lot of resources, trying to keep nice and cold. That's why they move around here, mainly at night. But like Lauren was saying, all predators very opportunistic. So these guys, weather like this, overcast, again, their body's not going to use too much energy to keep cool. So they will generally move around on a day like today. If they were hungry, they would move. But these ones are full. They're going to be very, very lazy. And they will move only again tonight, I would imagine. Everything out here. So we've got a question from Unkit wanting to know why male lions are so lazy where females are so active. So it's a bit of an unfair perspective, Unkit. So, people always say, female lions, they do all the hunting, males just sleep and then they go and they steal the food and they eat, but they don't do anything. So it's not really true. Males are actually quite active. They spend a lot of time patrolling. They spend a lot of time scent marking. They spend a lot of time fighting. So males are actually very active. When they're with the pride, so let's say the Ross males were here at the moment, then yes, they would be lazy because they've already done their work. They've been patrolling. They've been defending. They've been fighting. They're now joined up with the pride, and now it is their sort of relaxed time. And the females will hunt, the males will relax purely because they've got different priorities. Obviously they all want to eat, but as I said, males are fighting, defending, patrolling, where females, they don't really have to do that. They're not defending an area, they're not patrolling an area, they're not doing anything like that. So they have essentially a bit more time to hunt. That's what females do. They hunt, they look after their cubs. That's their sort of role. So they look a lot more active. They come across as more active. Where male lions, a lot of their activity that they do is unseen. It happens at night. It happens off in the bush. It doesn't happen in the open where we can actually watch and see what's happening. So male lions are lazy, for sure, but they're not as lazy as people think. And females are active, but it's fairly close to the activity levels of a male as well. Look at these ones. They're fast asleep. Fast asleep. Yeah, males do hunt a lot. Sometimes males will leave a pride for 2 weeks. They'll be by themselves. Or maybe not 2 weeks. Maybe like 7 to 10 days. They'll be by themselves, patrolling, walking, monitoring their boundaries. And during that time, they have to eat. And then they hunt by themselves. So they do hunt a lot more. Now, Lauren was talking about hyenas and hyena hunting. And they hunt a lot more than people expect. But you just saw 2 of those cubs, those youngsters, walked off there. One looked like it had something in its mouth. So I just want to loop around this bush and see if we can find them on the other side. I just want to see if that it was just holding a branch, a stick, or maybe it was a bit of leftovers from that carcass that they had. But I can't see them. I think one of them may have gone into the bush, getting a little bit of protection. Okay, we've got a question from Roy. Now, Roy is wanting to know if the lions can be similarly identified as leopards, in terms of, the leopards have the spot patterns that we look at on the mouth by the whiskers. So, generally not, no, Roy. We would identify the lions with unique markings. So, one of these lionesses has a black spot under her eye. One of them has a white dot on her fur by her back leg. So we use unique markings like that. Obviously on males you can look at mane colouring, mane size, you can look at scars, but not spot patterns. If you actually look at these lions, if Marcel zooms in on maybe one of the older ones, that female with their head up perhaps. There we go, we zoom in on her. You can see there's no, Roy, very definitive markings on the face. We look at her, we look at it, none of these other ones have their heads up, so hopefully this afternoon. But there's no definitive patterning that we can see. So it's mainly just based on, if you see these animals twice a day, every day, I mean, there's some guys that have been here that can just look at them and say, this is the one. Yeah, it's another thing. So I'm just getting some comments from SC, and they're saying that, she got very tatty ears, this lioness. You can see her right ear, our left side. There's a few holes, cuts, tears in the ear. And that's another way to identify lions. So all these animals go through unique experiences, and they've got special cuts or wounds or injuries, or like that little white male with the black eye. He might get a scar around the eye from a fight, and then you can identify him like that. It's all unique and things like that, not really spot patterns. But you can see we're just making sure these lions are still here. They haven't left anywhere. They look very lazy, as I said, spending the rest of the time here. So we're going to carry on. And in the meantime, we're going to send you back across to James, see if he's found any other cool animals.
Well, it depends on your perspective, really. We have found an Impala, a ram, with wide set horns. Now, if you're of the disposition where putting a lead slug between animals' eyes is something that you like to do because you consider it fun, then you'd probably think that this Impala was quite impressive. Because for some reason, those who enjoy doing what I've just suggested think that the value of an animal is found in the width of its horns. Now, I find that the most incredibly random thing to have decided should give an animal an economic value. Isn't it odd? I think it's very odd. Not its virility, not its ability to survive, but the width of its horns. Very strange. But, I mean, there are many strange things that our species engages in that I cannot understand. Now, I don't think he's turning his back on us because he's offended. I think he turned his back on us because he can hear something or smell something to the north of where he is. Now, that could be a group of lady impala. It could be another impala ram, some competition. Alternatively, it could be a predator, but if it's a predator, he'll alarm call. He looks like a soldier on guard duty, but one that has found himself a large ball of chewing gum to chew. Yes, Nicholas, there are predators here that aren't cats, crocodiles, or hyenas. Lauren found one yesterday. That was a jackal. So we get jackals here, and we get wild dogs, and we get civets, and we get genets, and all the mongoose species are predators or carnivores. And we get, what else? Well, we also, of course, get the predators that aren't mammals, as Owen's just pointing out. Lots of bird species are predators. And remember, also, Nicholas, is a little bit complicated, but if you are a bush, right? Let's pretend that you're a bush. Then an impala becomes a predator to you, right? Just because it doesn't eat meat doesn't mean that you don't get preyed upon. So if you happen to be a bush, there are lots of predators that would like to eat you. And then, if we're talking about strictly meat-eating predators, remember that it's not only birds. There are lots of reptiles that eat meat. There are lots and lots of spiders. Every single spider species that I know of is a carnivore. I think there is, if I'm not mistaken, we've had this discussion before, a long time ago, and if I'm not mistaken, there's one herbivorous spider. But I think just about all the others are meat-eaters. So, Nicholas, yes, lots and lots of creatures that are predators or meat-eaters that are not cats or hyenas or crocodilos. Have you seen a crocodilo here? I don't think we have. We used to find them in Chitwa Dam when we went down there. Oh, yes, and there was one at the Gari Dam, the Juma Dam. But, Nicholas, you must never, ever assume that there is never a crocodile. Now, apparently we are now going to have question of the day. Go ahead. Lewis, aged 6 in Scotland, would like to know if impala can do handstands because they've got very thin arms. Lewis, let's ask this one. Excuse me, Mr. Impala, but Lewis, age 6 in Scotland, would like to know if you're able to do a handstand, even though you've got skinny arms. Lewis, I'm going to say no. Let me explain why. Yes, I am going to attempt a handstand, and it's going to be bad, so I'm warning you. Our shoulders are a little bit like a cat's shoulders, but even more so. They can turn around so far, whereas if you take an impala's shoulders, it can probably only do that and that. It won't be able to bring its shoulders all the way in front of it, in front of its head. Does that make sense? So it would never be able to stand up on its front feet. Right, are you ready to have a good laugh, Lewis? Are you watching? Here we go. Once more. So, Lewis, While I am really bad at doing handstands and I'm now seeing stars, you can rest assured that I'm better at doing them than that Impala, and I wager you are too. I'm genuinely seeing stars. Okay. Let us now go back to Lauren, who's got a much more impressive animal than me doing handstands.
Well, I don't, I'm afraid. They have all ran off. That was bizarre. We just had the most beautiful herd. Ah, there's one coming. Most beautiful herd of elephants. All ages, all sizes on the road. Something spooked them. I don't believe it was us. Oh, that's a shame. Let's go forward and take a look, see if there's anything around that could possibly spook them. Elephants don't like this kind of weather. They don't like it when it's really, really windy and their senses start to become blocked. I'm just wondering what spooked them. I haven't seen elephants run that fast in a long time. I wonder if there's something else here that they were running from. Although, if there's a predator of any sort, elephants normally vocalize it. They normally trumpet very, very loud, and you will hear when there's a predator around because they will not be happy. I don't know what could have spooked them. That was a beautiful herd. So once sort of wind picks low light, the elephants start to feel uncomfortable as the most sort of prey species because their senses become altered, if you like. It doesn't mean they can't hear. Of course they can. It becomes difficult to gauge where the sound is coming from, what direction is coming from. Things just become a little bit nervy, and elephants are very reactive animals anyway. I find them very reactive. They react to all sorts of things that they don't necessarily need to. And what I mean by that is they are large mammals, the largest that we have out here. They really, really don't need to run from much. They definitely don't need to react to the likes of leopards or wild dogs, and yet they do. They're very reactive. And I just wonder what spooked them. Elephants are not the most graceful runners. They're not designed to run, so when you see them run, it's rather bizarre. You never know, we may be in store for a last minute something. I think we're going to get rained on today, so we're heading home. And as I make my way inwards, we are going to send you back across to Sean, who I believe is doing the exact same as I am.
James has been providing some fantastic sightings for us this morning. Leopard cubs, his handstand, I was quite impressed with it. We have just been driving and looking. We left those lions fast asleep. Now we're having a look here. There's a water hole off to our left. And if you can see it, we're going to drive past some trees now. But we're just having a look, seeing if anything was out here. Anything coming down to drink. But we've had no luck. No luck. It seems like the weather, the wind, has actually chased a lot of the animals into the trees. So there, Marcel's quickly showing you. That's the water hole. So we're just having a look. But I think most of the animals, like Lauren was saying, the elephants with the wind, they get a little bit nervous sometimes. And a lot of the animals will move into thickets like this, both sides of us. Get a bit of shelter from the wind, some protection. And that seems to be what all of the animals have done, including the leopard that we have been trying to look for all morning. It is hiding from us. So this area here is the one place I think there used to be sable on Ngala. We were talking about earlunge earlier. They used to have sable around this area. Haven't been seen in many, many years. Many, many, many years. But they used to be here. So there's always a chance Always a chance. I mean, there's big clearings here. You see we're going to drive into a big clearing now. But not even an Impala. They are also gone. They are hiding. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh, now wouldn't that just be a treat? So FC is saying they're excited to see the cheetah when we eventually find one in one of our clearings. And that will be a very joyous day. It's about time we see a cheetah. We've been looking. We've been looking. We've been going into all the right areas, but they are remaining elusive. They are hiding from us. Oh, without a doubt. We're getting some more comments here that watching cheetahs hunt, some of the favorite things in the bush. Now, I can attest to that. It is absolutely incredible. I don't know if any of you guys have actually ever seen a cheetah hunt. I have been very lucky. I have seen one. There were two brother cheetahs, so a little coalition, and they caught an Impala. Happened way down in the south of the reserve. Far down in the south. Very, very fortunate, perfect place, perfect timing. And it was a little baby Impala, so that was a little bit sad. But, you know, they got to eat. Very cool photographic opportunity. And that was nice. Managed to capture a few. So, that was very awesome. So hopefully I can show you guys another cheetah hunt one day. But yeah, at the moment, I think this is going to be all from us for the morning. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching, well, andBeyond and Ngala. And I'll see you this afternoon, hopefully, to find some leopard and some hunting cheetahs. But in the meantime, we'll send you back to Juma, see what James is doing, maybe a cartwheel.
I thought that Lewis's sake, I would attempt to show him a headstand rather. I think I can do a headstand, and I've just started doing a little bit of yoga, so we'll see. I have now assumed crow position, and we shall put my head on the floor and then try and lift up to a headstand. Oh, there it is. Now, if you enjoy watching WildEarth, please do consider supporting us by going to wildearth.tv/support. It would be most appreciated. I promise not to do this again if you support us. There we go. That was better than the headstand. That went all far better than I expected. Good. All right. Namaste, everybody. Huh. Gee, Louise gave me 10 out of 10 for that. That is high praise. Whew. You give me a 6 because of my socks. Thank you, Owen. Amanda, you say you love our drives and we're making life in quarantine bearable to you. I'm so pleased that you say that, and I hope that you know, our audience has obviously grown massively since this lockdown period, and I think a lot of people are watching in order to escape what must be very difficult circumstances in small spaces, and no matter how you love your family and close friends and acquaintances, I imagine being cooped up with them must get quite difficult. And so I hope that you are all drawing some form of healing, be it psychological or physical, from being in the wilderness with us, because it is a huge joy to take you on safari with us on a daily basis. And of course, as I always say, a live safari experience is utterly meaningless without you and your questions and your comments. I really do find that for myself, being in the wilderness or being in a wild place, looking at, I mean, if you can find a leopard cub, well, then that's just wonderful, and it's really special, and I'm so grateful, so extremely grateful that we got to see those cubs today, and that you all got to share in that with us. But even if it's a hibiscus flower or a beautiful marula tree or whatever it is, I just find that it's a wild thing or a wild place is the ultimate way to soothe whatever you call it. It might be your soul, it might be your spirit, it might be your mind, and probably even your body. I'm not suggesting that you come here when you feel sick at the expense of recommended medical care, but I think that being in the wild certainly helps all kinds of healing processes. So thank you for coming on the ride with us. We will of course see you again this afternoon. That will be at 15:30. Remember, we changed to 1500 on the 20th. Until then, stay safe and happy, and most importantly, healthy. Bye-bye.